Any changes to the agenda?
Not that I know of, unless
Yes,
Pat
we're
has
going to
some.
be adding one. Mike is going to be talking about property on Lighthouse Road, and I don't know if there were any other ones. Anybody else
These are the only ones.
contact us about an inform? I think that's the only one, Frank.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the agenda as written with the add-on of Lighthouse.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. So we have no RDAs?
No, they're gonna be
There were
discussions.
two informal discussions. They came in as RDAs,
Okay.
but they're going to be informal. And one is,
So we don't have anything we can start on our agenda till 6:30,
Except for the informals.
and we can do the informals.
Well, I can do an extension on, the orders of condition.
You can, I have to recluse myself from
Well,
that.
just sit there, put your head under the
We
table.
can talk about COCs and Coastal Advisory Commission. and-
I make a motion that we extend the orders of condition on 121 Indian Trail.
Do we have a second on that?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Okay, we got that out of the way.
Is anybody here for the DPW waterline project, Pat?
yeah, I talked to them today. That's one of the ones that we can discuss. They came in, they wanted to do an RDA. This is for the pipe from the new well out toward the reservoir.
Right.
We got a letter from DEP Wetlands that said, you know, if you're going to be disturbing the wetland, it should be a notice of intent. And they were going to try to lay out how much disturbance it's going to be. If it's a pipe through upland for water supply and it's going to be dropped in upland in a crushed stone area, it may be possible to do an RDA. So Kevin was ordering the pipe. We were trying to get a final answer from DEP. And so...
Sounds like it's like the carts before the horse a little.
Yeah, I mean, they wanted the water supply, they were trying to make it simple, but now if there's a disturbance, it turns out they have to bring in a mini excavator, so there's gonna be some disturbance to a wetland, so it may need to be a notice of intent in
Yeah.
that area, so.
I remember him discussing that one day
Right,
when
and
I
then
was
the
in
two
here.
DEP departments, divisions went back and forth
Yeah.
on it, and, so.
So
So
it
you're
isn't
thinking is
ready.
it needs an RDA?
We're
We
still
don't know.
waiting to get the final word, but if it's, you know, if it's less than 15 feet, they might say, I'll go ahead with it, you know, so there's no butters that are impacted, so.
There's
So-
no abutters to the project?
I mean, quite a distance away from where this pipe would be. So it's a wooded area and it's,
So this pipe is, the town has a well, and right now that well, I think, is high in manganese, so they pipe the well independent of the other water, rather than adding it to the water system. They pipe it all the way down and it goes into the reservoir in Greenbush. And what they're proposing to do is, rather than dump it into the Greenbush Reservoir, they want to put it into the Tack Factory Pond, because at times they're not pumping enough water out of the Greenbush Pond and it just goes over the spillway. So the idea is that they would be putting this water up in the Tack Factory Pond at times when they needed additional water to help fill the reservoir.
So is the manganese not a problem once you run it through like an open?
Well, I would still think it's somebody's got to take a look at it, but right now it's going into the Greenbush Pond,
Right, and they want to redirect it.
and they want to redirect that to Tack Factory. But, I mean, it seems like there's a few things that ought to be looked at. I know that the concern was after the drought that this would be a way to help deal with some of those issues, and they're hoping to get it online fairly quickly. But we still think they have to comply with some of, maybe there's some rules and regulations that they don't have to deal with if they're trying to do that, but I would think there'd still be part of it they would have
Yeah,
to.
'cause I was under the impression it was gonna go from the reservoir into the water treatment plant down there. I was not under I thought it would go there and then be treated and then go out to the
I
neighbors.
think eventually what they'd
Yeah.
like to do is they'd like to treat the manganese at that well,
At the well, okay,
but they aren't there yet, so
Yeah,
this was a
right.
way to deal with it
Yeah.
in the meantime.
okay. So they're not ready anyway, so
Right.
we don't have to worry about it tonight.
And then 140 Jericho Road,
Okay, this was, I don't know if anybody had a chance to get down there. It's a gravel area, and they're proposing some asphalt on the driveway, and it's right on Jericho on the inland side, across from the harbor there. Did anybody go out there to see that?
I've seen it.
Oh, okay.
I didn't
All right.
specifically go out of it.
Anybody is here from, yeah, you guys.
perfect
yeah,
timing.
Right. Right. Actually, it's on the harbor side.
Right.
And it's crushed shells now, and...
you want to step up?
Yeah.
for a minute?
Sure. Oh, it says across the street, it's right across the street from Otis.
Yes.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, your name's on?
Christine, Donnelly, and Joe,
Thank you.
140 Jericho.
Yeah. Do you have any sketch or plans, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thanks, Penny.
Pennies. I wrote a letter, too, that describes the situation there.
Babysit me.
And that was sent in an email to everybody maybe a month or so ago, and then we got it on for tonight.
So it has shells now, but they want to put asphalt in?
An area, yeah.
Used to be concrete.
Yeah, that was, the issue was
I'm
it
sure.
had been,
But-
yeah.
It's a pretty small driveway, too.
Yeah.
It's, I would say more the issue of how close to the ocean and so forth it is.
Yeah, it seems like everyone along the way there is asphalt and the new houses that they put in as well.
See, they could have done it earlier, or they didn't bother coming to us.
Yeah, we're trying to follow all the rules.
Yeah, no, you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also we've done, we've put, used to be a real eyesore, the house, and now we're really trying to make
But
it
even-
look real nice.
And even conservation, too. The erosion mats in the back on the water side, and the
Yeah.
the seagrass
Seagrass.
plantings.
So we're-
And even this project includes, additional seagrass and landscaping and...
Right, on the ocean side, there have been an order of conditions for replanting and getting the mats down. That was all done. We signed off on a certificate of compliance, I think, for the previous work from the back.
Yeah.
Penny, your thoughts?
I just, we're in a resource area, I go, and I don't know. There should be asphalt in there, even though the other neighbors have it. I want to hear the views of the rest of the commission, I guess. How about pavers?
How
Too
about
expensive.
It's 3 times the cost.
Yeah.
We looked at that. We would
Yeah.
like that, but we can't afford it.
Yeah, the resource area is land subject to coastal storm flow, so it's not it's not a barrier beach at that area, and it's 50 feet from the beach, but it is flood zone. That's the issue.
Yeah, it's definitely
Yeah.
on there.
I mean, this is similar to the issues that we look at Humrock when we're looking at driveways and whatnot, trying to figure out how to make as minimal impervious surfaces as possible. I mean, your yard, how much land do you have there, do you think? How big's your lot?
It's a quarter acre at most, right? Maybe.
Right. So it's 5,000, 6,000 square feet.
I
And
I should know, but I
if you
don't.
look at the plan, half or maybe a quarter of the lot's already covered by the house, which is impervious, essentially. And then the paving another area.
Small, though, 20 by 30, and there's a lot of...
Yeah, we're adding flower beds and,
And each side, like, there's a lot of, I'd say there's 50 feet on each side that is not paved, like I mean, it's not paved going to another paved surface on each side.
yeah, and we're bringing it out where the stairs, and that's gonna be
Yeah, so
not,
it's not really a big driveway at all.
we're adding, actually, because,
The area that I'm seeing on this drawing shows 25 by 36,
Okay, yep.
so that's
right.
what you're proposing to pave.
Yes, sir.
Is that from the stairs?
Well, it's probably less, because we're not going to go right, it's,
We're not
you know, we're
going
going to
right
leave
up
some
to
room
the
for
porch.
bushes and,
So from the stairs to the street, and then on the side, all around it, we're going to do plantings.
Richard, do you have
Well, I mean, I think there's something to be said for the mitigation that they've included in this, but it is certainly against what it's counter to everything we've been going with in other parts of town. So I'm a little troubled by it, but I do realize they're doing a lot of mitigation with the plantings.
Well,
The only thing I'd say is if you did, I get everyone's comments, if you did let them do something there, it is in the shadow of the house, it's not on the sides where it's gonna, accelerate any kind of flowage.
Yeah, they'll go around the house.
Yeah.
Lisa?
I just think it puts us in a position where we've ruled against other people doing an asphalt driveway and when there's alternatives.
I guess what I don't understand is that all our neighbors straight down in the new house they've just put there that's actually protruding into Jericho had just put a driveway in.
Right on the corner there.
And all we're doing is just trying to enhance, we have a son that likes to play basketball. It's just upsetting that we want to put this in. and-
even I have a mother in a wheelchair trying to get her into the house. We have to pick her up and carry the whole wheelchair up to, you know what I mean? You can't even, it's soft ground there.
It's not going to be, it's going to be beautiful. I mean, I think we've added to the neighborhood with what we did to that house. I don't know if you've seen what it looked like before, and I think we're just adding to the community and doing what we're doing. It's not going to be an eyesore. It's not going to be a massive, driveway. It's just going to be with plantings around it. I'm sorry, I'm just...
So, just to answer the question about other projects, or the one across the street, I think that the one that you're referring to, there was a place there before and they tore it down.
What's on the same side?
I know, but there
Yeah.
was a place, so typically what we have to look at is if there was a structure there and impervious surfaces there before, we have to leave, people are entitled to keep pieces of that. And so that may be some of the reason that we did that. I can't say for certain without looking at that folder why they were
Yeah.
allowed to do
Well, how
that.
about, I mean, there was concrete there before the blizzard of '78, so,
Can I just, Pat, did you take a look at the folder just to see if there were any previous orders? Was there any orders to remove that at one time, or how long have you owned the property?
Since 2008?
So what I'm wondering is, when when the person that you bought the house from, when they did that, when they did work on this house, at some point, did they agree to remove the driveway and put in the seashells as part of something they were doing?
I don't know.
oh, I don't.
Yeah, it's in the archives, we could check that.
Yeah,
but-
it's a shame it isn't there, because the law says once you have it, you can keep it or maintain it or repair
But
it.
let's just say that the person that owned the house before you added on to this house, did something to the front of the house, and in turn removed the concrete driveway.
No, he didn't. The people that we bought it from, it was a builder.
Yeah,
And it was, Mr. McCarthy, and it was during the downturn when we bought the property. So he had plans to build something different there, and it didn't work out. So he really didn't do anything to the house.
Okay.
But what if we're adding, like, we have the porch and we're adding plantings and dirt and it's just,
So a piece of what you're doing is absolutely correct. By removing part of the driveway that's impervious,
yeah,
but replacing it with plantings and possibly an area where that water could drain to, might be the mitigation you need. And as you point out, you have circumstances,
Yeah.
that you want to be able to use the driveway for, in case of a wheelchair,
Yeah.
Right.
is something that the commission can take into consideration as well.
yeah.
But you are also in this resource area. I realize that you submitted the paperwork, and we've got an issue with some advertising or something wasn't posted in time, or something to that effect. So typically what we'd be having is a hearing, either a notice of intent or an RDA, or request for a determination of applicability this evening, and we're discussing it informally to see if what you want to do is approvable. Okay? Theoretically, if one of your neighbors felt that you shouldn't have something like this, they'd have the opportunity to be here
Yeah.
and speak to this.
We've talked to all of them.
Yeah.
And they've been very supportive with all what we've done in the past, and,
Sure, and I'm sure it looks
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
I'm sure it looks fine. We just want to make sure that we are consistent
Yeah.
with what we do as a commission,
yeah,
and that the work that you do doesn't
Right.
impact anybody else or that area
Right.
as a flood zone. So,
One question I had is, we had looked at, is there a way to mitigate? Is there some other impervious that could come up? I don't know if that shed that's to the left there, as you're facing out toward the street, maybe there's a reduction somewhere and a replacement of, something that's more pervious.
I don't see a shed on the plan at all.
That's not, that
That's
garage
the-
belongs to the other
Oh,
home.
that's
not
the
ours.
next side.
Yeah, it's right on the,
Impervious
That
it was
won't work then.
built right on the property line.
We could advertise and do it next time.
Have you thought at all about pervious pavement or looked into that?
No, we looked at pavers, and then we went with the asphalt, but it was the,
But they have asphalt that's pervious.
what was that?
Water can go through it.
They call it pervious pavement, and
No, I wasn't aware of that.
More expensive than,
probably. I think what would be the right thing to do, at least, would be to get that folder.
Yeah.
Take a look at that. Maybe get a little bit more information than what we have here on, like, the plantings and the drainage, some crushed stone or something. The points that you make are valid. But to follow what we're supposed to do, I think we need to look at that folder. I think at
Yeah.
a minimum, we should be looking at the previous history on the house, and then maybe get a little bit of more information. I mean, I'm looking at a little sketch here with some dimension and a few plants. We get a little bit more information on how that water's going to drain. You put some crushed stone on either side. What are you going to do to make sure you hold back that water? Okay?
okay.
We couldn't make a decision tonight anyway,
No.
because it hasn't been
And it's informed.
publicized, okay? in the
Oh, we didn't
paper.
know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely check into pervious pavement, what the cost is, because that's a huge difference. It's, now it's not like, not behaving like asphalt. Water can go through it.
Oh, okay.
So you at least got some more information that we would have asked you to get anyways. And we have to find the file, for the house.
So when do we come back? Because Joe
Well, we'd
was-
hope in 2 weeks.
If we get the file and people want to take a site visit, and then we could be on for the 5th, July 5th?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying. Yeah.
You won't be here, right?
No.
And you can
Oh,
get some more info from us.
Or we could meet, if you're not going to be around then, we could meet ahead of time, and then you wouldn't have to be at the hearing if we had a discussion.
Oh, yeah, because Joe's in Puerto Rico, like 2 weeks on, a week home, so, or I can just be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you'll let us know. So putting crushed stone in the beds or rocks?
Well,
or
some way to, do you think,
Yeah.
if you're gonna have an area that's gonna shed water, hopefully someplace where that water can go to, along the sides of the driveway, or creating some sort of drainage or something
And
like
does it
that.
help that we don't have issues with water where we are?
You know?
No.
We have a full, that property has a full
Unless you have a
basement.
storm.
No, it's a full
No.
basement. It just seems to be on a hump there.
Okay.
So
I mean,
we're
it's
the
got
house where people
Otis.
park their their
Yeah.
cars in the storms.
Sure.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
I mean,
All right, well, let us take a look at that, see if we can help out with a site thing or something, and then go from there.
Okay.
All right?
okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is the Columbia Gas project much of a...
We can get to that later, because that's...
There's nobody here
We
for
have
that?
an informal at 6:15.
Okay.
Might be part of the informal, so...
The only thing I'm seeing on the agenda is starting in with notices of intent.
Well, we added one, Mike Monomi's Lighthouse project isn't.
Lighthouse
involved.
Road, that's what.
Yeah.
Okay,
We have photos here.
okay, who's here for that?
Mike Bonomi, the cement contractor on the Lighthouse Road project. These are the owners, 78 and 76 Lighthouse Road.
Hey, and your names are?
Walter Morse.
Mary Ann Murphy.
Good evening.
Okay. What has happened is, there's a cement walkway and a patio behind the houses on the north side of the Scituate Harbor, okay? And it's on top of the existing riprap. It's been there for, I don't know, probably back into the 40s. I've been repairing it time and time again over the years. There was a site visit by Pat and Lisa approximately 5-6 weeks ago, or something like that, and the owner happened to be there and present at the time. The two owners want to repair it and get it done and get it over with, instead of me constantly band-aiding it. I think what it needs to be is torn out and a monolithic floor, all formed with some rebar and wire, exactly the way it was originally. Nothing added onto it, no more square footage or anything else, just what's existing, to support everything that they have.
Didn't we have something like this on Lighthouse Road maybe a
Yes,
year
you
ago?
did.
Yes.
And they were approved.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what the, do you remember the address?
Yeah, that was,
80 maybe? 82. And this would be to have the aluminum stairs over the side down to the...
Yes, yes.
Are
Correct.
you just gonna fix the riprap or the
Concrete.
wall?
Concrete.
Fixing everything that's pre-existing.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
And then the aluminum stairs come out in the winter?
correct.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
The original concrete stairs going down, I'd like to continue with that, you know, so when the aluminum stairs are out, they still have another access. That's what's existing there, and that will also support everything.
So you're gonna
Two
re-pour
different
those
questions.
stairs all the way down to the,
I think so. Not all the way down to the bottom. It goes down 3 to 5 steps, because they're undermined a little bit, so if
Yeah,
we
every year would
leave...
lose them. Every
Yeah.
storm would lose a stair.
Yeah.
and these are shared by your two properties?
No,
No,
no, it's two
no.
separate properties.
Okay,
Next door to
Two
each other.
separate,
I see.
works.
I don't remember 82 to know what was filed for that.
Yeah, I think they actually had concrete patio and a set of stairs.
Yeah.
But in this case, we had said you'd never be able to come in and do this now, pour concrete on top of the riprap, but it's there and it's in disrepair. So Mike is saying that can be repaired in place as is and then continue to use the aluminum over the side. So I said, well, come in and check informally and we'll let you know. It's possible. If it is, then you can file.
There won't be any size increase. It'll be exactly the way it was.
It is all cracked and falling apart.
Yeah.
Lisa and I were-
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Can they file an NOI or an IDA? What's your
It's,
thought?
yeah, I checked with Kevin. The town doesn't own the wall or anything on that stretch. It would be, it's owned by them. I don't know. I mean, if
I'd say if it's a repair, the exact thing in the same footprint,
It can
yeah.
be done carefully without any concrete
Right.
scraping into the,
So an RDA for this?
Right.
I would think it's a repair in the same footprint.
But they're gonna jackhammer all this up, right?
Existing. I think it should,
Remove all the concrete.
I think it should be all done at once, and some wire and some rebar added to tie it all together so it'll all hold in place. That's my suggestion. And I think also they should use a seawall mix, like a 4,000-pound PSI, so it will all stay in place. I think it will be there, we'll be all gone and still be there, hopefully.
You never know what Mother Nature will bring.
Yeah, famous last words.
I know. Don't jinx it.
Shouldn't want my grandchildren.
Well, whoever built it years ago, it's been there, I
yeah.
think that was probably put in the 40s or
Yeah.
50s by
We've been
the
there
Army
50
Corps of
years, yeah.
Engineers or whoever did it that time, I have no idea. In the 50s probably. But I keep Band-Aiding in every year, but it's getting worse and worse, and, if I can't put the support underneath it, it's just gonna give,
Mike, what can you do while you're jackhammering everything to keep it from going everywhere, falling into the harbor and everything?
Oh, it won't fall down in the harbor. We'll get all out of there by buckets and all that stuff. It wouldn't hurt. I'd just make a suggestion. I don't think you go for it, but even the broken concrete would be good to go in the voids, but you probably wouldn't like that, but we'll haul it away.
Yeah.
We'll haul it away.
Haul it away.
Yeah, clean it up and haul it away.
As you break it.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't we need an RDA and a plan?
I would say at a minimum.
Yeah. Okay.
So an RDA is a request for a
Right.
determination, and
The
we
simplest.
sometimes file that RDA, and the commission feels that the work is minimal and doesn't require a greater filing, then we would issue a negative finding, which means that you can go ahead and do the work, and there'd be some stipulations like removing all the old
Yeah.
concrete.
Sure.
Not making it any bigger. Obviously, we'd like to have a little bit more information, some dimensions.
I have more. I can get
sketch
them
and
to you.
stuff like
Yeah.
that, so that we could see what your plans are.
Right.
What can happen with that, if in filing that, say the state or somebody takes a harder look at it and says, you know what, this requires a more extensive filing, then you'd get a positive determination. It means you'd have to file a notice of intent.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, we can allow insignificant projects or replacement projects to be done with an RDA.
Right.
Okay.
So I think that's probably the best course of action.
Okay.
And go from there.
Okay, and one other question, if this goes ahead with an RDA, these people spend a lot of money just repairing it, Band-Aiding over the past couple of years. Would this be a stipulation that it has to be done within 30, 60, and 90 days? Okay, we get a stipulation that this could be done within the next 2 years.
How long is that good for? I think it's a couple of years.
Yeah, we could extend it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Maybe though, if you have, while you're looking for that other one, if you can look at number 82 and just see what was filed,
okay.
okay?
Yeah,
You want to be consistent.
Right,
I
right.
have it on email, I could send it over.
Didn't the other one start
Okay.
to work before they came in
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
It all went well in the end over there in 82, yeah.
All right. Good enough.
All right, thank you
Thanks
very
for coming
much.
in and
Yeah,
chatting
coming in
with us.
before.
Oh, yeah. Very good. Yeah,
Thank you.
Town of Scituate.
Do you want to take these?
yeah.
You can bring them back when you do the RDA. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Town of Scituate, Garden Road.
See you, Mike.
What's the guy's company?
Got a spiel?
Town of Scituate, DPW, Gardner Road, drainage.
Okay, this is notice of intent for replacement of the drainage structure out on Gardner Road, and there was going to be some impact to the abutting property. So we've had town council speak with the abutters attorney about this, and Don Nagel's here, and he could talk more about this. We've hesitated on getting starting on this because we have to have, we cannot trespass on the property according to the property owner, so we have to be within the easement. So we need to have that laid out by DPW, and we have to have our wetland person determine how much wetland will be disturbed during this project so that we can replicate it.
Okay.
But Don, if you want to talk about,
Sure.
Come on up.
Yeah. Good evening, Don Nagel. I represent Jason and Katie Catlander, 26 Gardner
So
Road.
they're just to the right of this.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. And unfortunately, they're not able to be here tonight. But they do strongly oppose this project. Yeah, they're the house that the movement of the stormwater control feature would be moved closer to their house. It's already pretty close to their house now, but it would be moved even closer to their foundation, and they have a walkout basement, and also their septic system. And there's Title V setback requirements for stormwater features to septic systems. And you know, they're not that far, the setbacks aren't that big, but the proposed plan seems to indicate that the stormwater feature is going to be right next to the septic system, and But the plans really don't, they're not survey plans, they're not engineered, so we don't know how many feet exactly it is. And, it certainly will cause problems with their backyard. It would definitely impact their yard. The other aspect of it, actually, I laid out the arguments why we're opposing it in my letter of May, what was it, May 3rd, I think? May 3rd. So just to summarize that a little bit, the other part of it that we think needs work to really address how it will be done and where exactly it'll be located is that the wetlands, there's no recent wetland delineation. There's a 2000 wetland delineation that's on the plan. But there really should be a new wetland delineation, particularly since there has been filling on the wetlands that will be impacted by this movement of the stormwater feature. And so those impacts need to be addressed. The wetlands need to be delineated. And frankly, there just needs to be more engineering so we can really see, what really is going on and how any mitigation, any impacts to my client could be mitigated. The other thing that I found an issue with the plan is that the easement, I understand the reason for this is that the stormwater feature is not within the easement. There's a 20-foot town easement. And it's not clear to me whether that easement is shown accurately on the plan. It's not stamped by either a PLS or a PE. And notwithstanding, so there's an ambiguity there. Is the stormwater feature really outside the easement or isn't it? And if it's outside of it, apparently it's working correctly. This was done, 2004, I believe?
Yeah.
Three, and this worked because there was flooding on Gardner Road. And apparently it's working correctly. It addressed the flooding problem. So I would like to raise to the board the question of, maybe moving that stormwater feature isn't the answer. Maybe literally moving the easement, not the feature itself, so that the two are coinciding. But from looking at the plans, it's not clear where the stormwater feature is in relation to the easement. So that needs to be addressed.
And that's why town council's involved, so.
Right.
Okay.
So there's a number of issues really that need to be addressed.
Yeah, so obviously our purview would be to look at the wetlands impact of this just in the disturbance. Somebody's going to figure out we're not surveyors and we're not attorneys, so we're not going to sort out that piece of it. But we'd obviously have concerns about the wetlands disturbance one way or the other. There's a discharge from that now where it is, and it sounds like what the town's proposing is to shift this over to where they feel the correct easement is, which I guess you guys have to sort that out.
Right.
And then I do remember them, sort of as an informal thing, they came in before your clients were here at that meeting. The town original proposal showed that pipe actually terminate before the front of their house, and then that swale carry on. And one of the things we said was, why wouldn't at least this be discharged at the backside of their property, as opposed to, but we don't know what sort of impacts that would have.
You mean by extending the pipe?
That's right.
Yeah. Right.
So, again, to look at some of that, and you're well aware that we have an enforcement order on the property
Exactly, right.
next door for a disturbance that was done illegally, which probably kicked all this off to start with. So,
I'd laugh.
so there's a lot of sorting out to do,
Right.
and we haven't even got to a point where we've had a wetlands consultant, right?
He's agreed, their attorney said that he could go on site and they'd be held harmless from lawsuit.
So I think we need to know what those resource areas are, what the wetlands are, what sort of impact are going to happen. So we want to find out that piece of it.
Right.
And then I think we're going to move very slowly forward, I think.
I recognize there's some moving parts here, but my point tonight is to formally, basically summarize what I said in my letter and let you know that the Catlanders are concerned about it. They're really nice folks and they want to cooperate, but they certainly don't want to have their property, harmed as a result of this. And
Sure.
so there's, I stand to be involved and interact with whomever in the town to, as
Sounds
this
like
thing
you've got a
goes
couple
forward.
of fronts. I mean, I appreciate their concerns and who would want to have that moved on to their property.
Right,
But at the same time, we got to figure out where they deal with someone else who's saying that it shouldn't be on their property. But at the end of the game, for us, for our purview, it's really how does this discharge and what does it impact? And so that's the piece that our commission would want to consider.
yeah, exactly. And just to make one point in that regard, as I mentioned before, the wetlands haven't been delineated recently, but there surely is, salt marsh back there, and there are sensitive resource areas that really do need to be protected.
And we've had folks from the state out there looking at that for our enforcement order. We've already had,
The Southeast region had a soil person and one of their wetland, you probably know them. So,
Yeah.
so we are pretty aware that it's all an area of concern.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you very much.
Very much.
Coming in, Don.
So we're going to continue this.
Continue this out for a way, yeah.
Any idea, thinking of it
First of August.
ahead, early August? I mean, I don't, I'm trying to
Yeah,
think.
I mean, I think our engineering department and town council really want to meet with the abutter and with Don to,
August
I
2.
mean, ideally, we wouldn't have to change anything. We could go after from the enforcement, and maybe it'll stay the way it is if it's working. We don't have to do that, but that's on a different...
So August 2nd, do you think that's too much time, or
I think that'd be fine. Yeah. Is that the first...
First meeting in August.
is there anybody in the
Monday?
audience that wants to speak to
No,
this?
we haven't decided that yet, have we?
Are we,
Oh, yeah.
have we decided? We haven't decided it?
Well,
Hold on.
Yeah,
The 2nd's a Wednesday, so the 7th would be a Monday.
Correct.
For anybody else that's in the room that hasn't heard this, we're actually trying to decide if we're going to move our meeting nights from Wednesday to Mondays. It's a quorum issue with one of our members. And are you still on
We
that?
could schedule that for August and still, if we were going to change after that.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right.
okay, I make a motion.
But we are going to address that before the night's over.
No, I know that.
All right. So let's
I
hope
make-
there's nothing beyond August.
16th would be the
Yeah.
final meeting in
Okay.
August.
I wouldn't think so. I make a motion that we continue Town of Scituate DPW Gardner Road to August 2nd at 6:30.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. 12 Gilson Road, raise, rebuild duplex, that's continued. Good evening.
Hey, good evening. So Jeff Acid, Morse Engineering. This is a continued public hearing for a project at 12 Gilson Road. It's a raise and rebuild. At the last hearing, it was presented to you by Greg Morse, and it was continued in order to delineate the wetlands by a professional wetland scientist. We had that done. We had it done by Brad Holmes of Environmental Consulting and Restoration. He is a professional wetland scientist, as you know. And we've updated the plan And we've also submitted a delineation narrative. The line didn't change much, and the proposed work did not change, all of which is outside of the 50-foot buffer to the wetlands.
That was our only problem. We just wanted that for down the road in case somebody else wanted to build something. We wanted delineated.
Richard?
I read it, I was fine with it.
Yeah.
Paul?
Good.
Lisa? Pat, any?
Well, I think the biggest issue is the house is right up against the 50, so, I mean, even to construct it, you're gonna be within the 50, and there's no room for any lawn or anything there. And the house that's coming down was a little further back. Is there a way that this can be pulled back a bit, or is that
It's really right up against the property line on the other side.
on the other side, 10 feet off the other?
Yeah, and there's quite a bit of existing lawn all around this project. It's not like it's a tree line right up to the side of the house. You have
Right.
quite a bit of existing lawn to work with around
Just
it.
gonna
But
start.
it's all in the 50, but, I mean, if we had some kind of conservation post or fencing or something so that the rest of that area didn't
The
become
rest of
lawn.
it, yeah.
Right,
That
but if you
isn't
look
lawn.
down near the 14-foot contour line, it already says lawn way,
There is, yeah.
yeah.
There's lawn right to the
Yeah.
wetland flags
They
and
have
areas.
They have fence posts going in this week. I don't know, what that's all about, but they should probably hold off until, we figure out the buffers. Some work going on with that.
I wasn't aware of the fence posts.
Yeah. Metal fence.
We could certainly do conservation posts along the existing limit of the lawn so that during construction, that isn't encroached further.
Yeah, then we'll put down.
Well, do we want to think, for mitigation for this project, do we want to think about pulling that line back?
Yeah, there's an area where the lawn cuts down toward the wetland. It's all
Right.
in the buffer.
I mean, they're going to be right up against that 50, but this, technically, that's where the post would go, is at the 50, so that's 2 feet off the house.
Well, I'm suggesting putting the posts at the limit of the existing lawn.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an existing lawn that's been
Right.
in place since well before the Wetlands Protection Act.
Right, but now you're trying to build a house closer to the 50, so as mitigation to that, wouldn't we want to pull back from that?
So portions of the existing structure are actually in the 50-foot buffer.
Yeah.
And we're pulling the structure entirely outside of the 50-foot buffer, and moving it further away, and thus improving the scenario.
Isn't the house 60 and a half feet from the wetlands?
It's the deck
There's a deck and a
and
set
the
of stairs
stairs
that
that
goes
go
over
into
to
the
the-
buffer.
50.5-foot line.
The existing, yeah, because the stairs go into the,
But it's a larger area of the structure that's
Yeah,
going
yeah, yeah.
towards the 50.
Okay.
I like your idea of
I mean, I just
taking
think, I
a
think
little
there's a
bit of the lawn
section,
back.
maybe at the 14-foot contour or somewhere in there.
I think that's a good idea, Frank.
I mean, we can put it in the orders.
I see the 16 foot, why am I not finding?
What if we did
Oh.
the same
It's the 15 foot contour, 16.
One looked like 6 to 10. Did a 10-foot wide planted strip.
Oh, the 14 is way over here.
What's the width of the, just measure from the tree line to the 14-foot contour?
It's about 13 feet up to
So over.
18 feet.
Okay, that point, no. Yeah. All right.
Why couldn't it pull it out and put plants in it?
That's what I'm
that's what
saying.
we just
It's
talked about, doing a
it's just a
10-foot
matter-
strip along there, yeah.
Yeah.
He's saying a 10-foot strip, I'm wondering if it should be a little greater,
13, 14?
or somewhere in the
somewhere
middle.
in there.
Just, other members have some thoughts, or?
No, I like the
anybody else
idea,
in
and
the
I think it's
audience?
appropriate.
Yeah,
That works.
because the rest of it's lawn. So they'll see that in their orders.
I mean, part of the driveway's within the 50, granted, it was in there before. So that's staying.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with 13, 14 feet, whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Right?
It's good.
Pat? Anybody in the audience?
Can I make a motion to close?
And we'll come up, we want some sort of sketch of that planting or something like that. I mean, I think a lot of it could revert back if there was some fencing or something like that, but some simple enhancement in that area would be good.
Some shrubs and such.
Yeah, that could be part of a plan submitted with that. Something
Still want
simple.
conservation posts?
Yeah, we can do that.
And some posts.
And posts at the front of it.
Stop building the fence, too.
Okay, we've got a motion, I'm seconding it.
It wasn't
All
strung
in
together,
favor?
but the posts
Aye.
Great.
I didn't notice the fence.
It was today, I was out there, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Jeff.
Have a
good one.
I was out there.
Town of Scituate, DPW, 430 Chief Justice Cushing Highway Reservoir, continued. Good evening.
Tom Cook again with Tetra Tech. Al couldn't make it tonight, Al Banger. Just want to give you an update. We had a MIPA scoping meeting today. We had 3 or 4 people from the DEP, Corps of Engineers, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, and EPA attended. So we had a 2-hour meeting up at the safety complex. Pat was there.
We wondered what he did all day.
We kept him busy. I think it was a very constructive meeting, and then we spent about an hour and a half out on Chief Justice Cushing Highway and up at Reservoir Dam looking at it. The basic process, the comment period for the ENF, this is the ENF process, environmental notification form. The comment period ends June 27th. The MIPA folk coordinator indicated that that certificate would be issued by July 7th, and that the EIR decision...
And we're supposed to know what all that is?
Yeah, environmental impact report. Basically, this comes down to, because we're exceeding the standards, as you know, we got to go through the MIPA process. And we were trying to explain to them the reservoir operation and trying to figure out what the impacts were. I think it looks like the Corps of Engineers are in pretty good shape. I don't think they had too many concerns. There will be a 404 dredge permit, obviously a 401 water quality permit. Fish and Wildlife, I think we're fairly good. I'm not sure.
They didn't have anybody today.
I didn't hear it. The only issue was the DEP variance person.
Our contact.
She was, I think she's concerned about the vegetation being submerged seasonally submerged for the longer period of time.
So it's going to alter that type of wetland.
Yeah, and so basically what we're going to have to do is, I think she's going to require us to do a study to identify the species, the life cycle of that, how that water will affect them, those species. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there, but we'll find that out on July 7th.
It's the opposite of the dam project. In the dam project, we're going to be gaining bordering vegetated wetland. In this project, we're flooding bordering, so it's going to be...
You guys should have been ahead of the game a little. You could have got some mitigation
That
over
was balanced.
So basically, I guess what we're suggesting still is that you continue the hearing. We still recommend we get the MIPA process underway to find out what the concerns are before you close the hearing. We also like to suggest that a support letter for the ENF process to MIPA by the Conservation Commission might have a lot of pull, even though you're going to deny the project because you have to.
Right.
A support letter to the MIPA folks may be very beneficial.
I think knowing, how long do you think it'll take to get that information back on the disturbance of the wetlands or the change in the function of some of those wetlands? How quickly do you think they're going to get that?
Well, we need to see, right now, our contract ends June 30th. So what happens is we're not going to be doing any of this until the process is that you gotta deny us, we gotta appeal to the DEP for a superseding order, they gotta deny us, then we gotta issue a variance. So it's gonna be 3 or 4 months out before we're moving forward. Now, once we find out what they want for the environmental impact report, we will try to figure out what to do, but right now, we have no money. The town has no money. So at this phase of the work...
End of the year, physical year.
Huh?
End of the fiscal year?
End of the fiscal year. So what we're doing is I'm working with Al, we're gonna be preparing some grant applications for the DEP. There's a round of grants coming out, not Sustainable Water Management Initiative, but other DEP grants. This is the seawall. There's a category for dam repair, and they have one category for design and permitting, and a second category for construction. So what we're doing is putting together 2 applications, one to get us through the design and permitting, and the second one to get through construction. And I haven't had a chance to fully review those yet, but it looks like, you know, it doesn't have to be done by June 30th next year. So they actually are going to be a longer duration period, which is what we really need to get this project moving. I have no clue on what they're going to, when they're going to award it. But as soon as we can get that money, and I'll talk to Al about other potential sources, it depends upon what they want to do. I mean, if we got to do, you know, 2 months of vegetation surveys out there, you know, that could take a while, and it may be a seasonal thing, I don't know. I'm not, you know, I'm not a vegetation expert, so I don't know what they're going to require. That's what we're waiting to find out. I think we'll be in pretty good shape with the fish passage people at the Department of Marine Fisheries. They should be okay with that. Well, that will be design property. Dam safety will be, should be okay. They should understand that why we're making these spillway modifications. And it really comes down to the wetlands. You know, what do we do about the wetlands?
Sure.
And that's the dilemma. So,
Penny, do you have any questions?
No, just,
My only question is how far out do we need to continue?
I would like to not go too far out, just to have a quick report in 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks from, I thought you said 2 weeks.
No, 2 meetings. I meant 2 meetings.
2 meetings,
Yeah.
okay.
I was suggesting the middle of July.
Before we do that,
Yeah.
Bob?
No questions.
Lisa? Pat, do you want to add anything to
Yeah,
this?
I mean, I spoke with the DEP person today, and she said, well, we'll be denying it. So whatever kind of fits into their schedule for doing the superseding order, I don't think we should push it too far out, so a couple of meetings.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anybody in
we
the,
agree.
anybody in the audience want to speak to this? This is a discussion about potentially raising the level of the reservoir for additional water storage, but more importantly, it's for additional flow, which would hopefully hope the movement of fish like shad or Andromeda's fish back up into the upper parts of the Herring Brook. Yes, ma'am.
Elise Klein, 675 Chief Justice Highway. I was on the water committee when we were working towards that. I think this is fabulous to go ahead and really a plus for the town to get the herring back in the herring brooks and to use the fish ladder and to increase the amount of potable water for the town. This is a fabulous thing.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I would like to add, it's more than just fish passage. A lot of the water that goes out of there is for the aquatic habitat between Reservoir Dam and Old Oak and Bucket and downstream. So there is a biological flow that's being released other than the town's water consumption. So it's more than just water supply. There is a component, environmental component to this, in addition to the fish passage.
And I think that, you know, thank you, ma'am. Just from our commission standpoint, in terms of, say, a letter of support, I think to be a little cautious, I mean, I don't know whether we'll eventually be weighing in on this, whether there'll be additional hearings before us. You know, in some ways, hate to, what we've seen and heard seems like a great idea. You know, we heard from North and South River and you folks, and it seems like it's very positive. I would like to see the impacts on the wetlands around the reservoir, just so that we know that what we are impacting isn't detrimental to something really sensitive. I think that's important for us to know. I'm sure that's why the person from DEP brought that up. And then I would think we need to be somewhat careful that we don't appear to already have made a decision on a project that we're ultimately going to have a hearing on. I mean, I think it's important for us to be supportive of these fisheries and things like that. So we'll come up with something that seems right. I certainly is a very positive thing, and we're working towards that, like with the Hunter Dam piece, so we know that this is all important. We just want to make sure we do it appropriately. So
I'm going to continue, I completely
Scituate, 430, Chief Justice.
Yeah, Town of Scituate, DPW, the reservoir, Chief Justice Cushion Highway to July 19th at 6:30.
For second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Hopefully you'll be funded by then.
No.
Well, I'll send Al then.
The grants are due July 21st.
Okay. Well, Al will have to come to that meeting.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Okay. Thank you.
Lot 1, Vinyl Ave, in Vinyl Road, rather, ANRAD. We're going to continue this to July 5th?
Yep, the wetland delineation review is going to take place this Friday, so they're going to meet on site. I'm going to meet with them. So that report should be into us probably the following week.
So if anybody's here for that, that's Ann Vinyl Road to the left of Hatherley School, and this is for an ANRAD hearing, so it's a wetlands delineation hearing. And that's going to get continued till July 5th.
At what time?
At 6:40.
Is that a full motion?
I make a motion that we continue Lot 1, Ann Vinyl Road to July 5th at 6:40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, Toll Brothers, Hatherley Road.
Yeah,
Bill's right out there.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to make a suggestion on that. We received the report from wetland specialist from Horsley Witten,
Yeah.
and if maybe people take a few minutes to read through the wetland report that we got today. This was great to get it within a week of when we took the visit. So
Sure.
This was short notice, and we appreciate it. And there was also a request to read into the record from the Scituate at Seaside Development, what's the name of the group?
Proving Grounds Group.
Proving Grounds Group has asked that we read this into the record. We received this tonight, so just have one copy of this, and I'll give one to the applicant.
I did too.
Oh, you got it?
Yeah. I've learned to...
So, yeah, maybe do the wetland, and then Frank can do one of those.
Did anyone else need copies? Or do you all have copies?
These guys don't all have copies, just Frank has one.
I do, yes.
Right, and just so that, in both these cases, typically we like to get information, especially with this much information ahead of time. So the best we're going to do is put this into the record this evening. It's really hard to discuss something like this while the hearing's in place. Because ideally, in the future, if there's information, if it can be gotten to the commission in advance, then we'd have the opportunity to digest that before the meeting.
So hopefully for the next
Sure.
hearing, at least
Yep.
you'll have that.
So we have this in the record, and we'll certainly
Thank
be
you.
looking at it. Thank you. Right over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could be telling jokes, I didn't realize.
I don't. Dave, you can sit right up here if you want to start.
Given to us during a meeting, this is the Living Grounds group.
Oh.
This was to be...
Sure.
We're just looking over quickly a letter from Horsley Witten.
Oh, okay. There's something someone
And
just...
then there was a letter from Seaside.
That's Scituate Development. It's just something... Proving Grounds. Proving Grounds Group. Yeah. Just all contamination stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll make a copy of it, get it. Put some wetland stuff in the back there. That's something we'll make copies of that.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
Hi, I'll just introduce everyone.
Yep.
Bill Armberger, I'm here tonight with Dave Buckley and Scott Shelley from the Toll Brothers. I'm also here with Ian Martin, who's here, who I think you all know. I'm also here with Kevin Klein and Jim Nash are with us also. And we just got the Horsley Witten report, which is good, and which we've reviewed. And basically, at the last meeting, we made an opening presentation, and we can answer any questions, but I think that probably after the on-site, that I see Amy's probably going to want to discuss things with the commission, and Ian is here to answer any questions or also give us our comments and our thoughts on things. So I think at the start, we'll start out with that.
great, okay. And so maybe I can introduce the consultants for the town of Scituate, the Horsley Witten Group. Amy?
I don't need a microphone, do I?
No.
Okay. Hi, for the record, Amy Ball, senior ecologist with the Horsley Witten Group. Our firm was retained by the Conservation Commission to do a...
Actually, you know what, Amy, I'm sorry. It might be a good idea, because folks do watch this on TV. Maybe we'll move this over to the corner.
Thanks.
Why don't you pull a chair around if you want to?
Pull a chair around and be cozy, right next to you. Sit right next to me.
I think it's important that a lot of folks will probably watch this outside of that, so.
Okay, do you want to start again, just to...
Credit ratings going way up.
All right, there you go. Credit ratings, okay, we'll start from the beginning on the microphone.
Sure.
Okay, for the record, Amy Ball, senior ecologist with the Horsley Witten Group. Horsley Witten was retained by the Conservation Commission specifically for this project to conduct a peer review of the wetlands and the stormwater. So we met with the Conservation Commission on site and the applicant and their consultants to do a quick walkthrough of the site, get a sense of the site conditions, take a look at the wetlands, the proposed wetlands that will be to be filled, the wetland replication area. And the commission at the end of the meeting asked us to kind of pull together a quick bullet list because we just started the project.
Yeah, and we actually have to say, we appreciate your willingness to jump in quickly, do this quick walk, as we've already opened our hearings, so we realize that this is...
Right, don't find too many typos, huh?
Well, we appreciate the effort to get that moving, so.
Okay, so what I figured I'd do is just give you a quick overview of the couple of bullet points or the topic areas, and then if the commission or the applicant or anybody from the public wants to comment upon that, we can get further in the discussion. I think I have 5 total comments. One thing I should caveat for the commission, for the applicant, and for the public is that we realize we may not have the full record within our grasp right now. There is at least one item that I believe we may not have. And I think that was the wetland mitigation plantings, if there was a report or something. We can cross-check with Pat or with the applicant just to make sure we have all of the information, so we're not making what appear to be extraneous comments on information that they've already submitted.
Thank you.
First things, the wetland boundaries, they all appear to be fine. They were approved by the Conservation Commission about 3 years ago. The Order of Resource Area Delineation, was approved back in October of 2014, so it's due after 3 years to be to expire. Our recommendation, and based upon some discussion with your conservation agent, is that for the purposes of this hearing and the project review, to just continue, either extend the ORAD, it's unlikely that anything has changed in the past 3 years, just so that you don't run into halfway through your hearing, oh, our wetlands are no good anymore. So that's a sort of a quick and dirty housekeeping thing. As far as wetlands proposed to be altered, there's half a dozen or so smaller isolated wetlands that we understand are only jurisdictional under your bylaw. They're not state-regulated wetlands. They're not even waters of the United States under the Federal Clean Water Act. So during this process, we'll be taking a quick look at those. We looked at them all. They are all, we believe, a result of probably past land use activities, especially based upon some of their squarish rectangular shape. A lot of them are bordered by buildings or concrete. And so I think that diminishes greatly their value. But we think that through the process of this review, we'll take a look at the mitigation area. I think if done properly, the way they've got it proposed in one location, much larger area with an enhanced buffer zone, you have an opportunity to sort of provide improved habitat quality, with the caveat that some of the interests may not be met without some additional stormwater review. And this is the kind of thing that Janet Bernardo, who is our peer review engineer, and I will take a close look at together, maybe work with the applicant's engineer, flooding, storm damage prevention, that kind of thing, to make sure that at least those interests will not be lost by losing an area of wetland. And then we'll present what we think is the proper set of comments for the Conservation Commission to consider. One thing we did notice that doesn't appear to be within our files is that your local bylaw requires an alternatives analysis for, sort of basically a justification of why these wetlands would need to be filled. Just back of the envelope, look at them. Maybe not all of them would need to be altered for the design, or maybe there could be a way to avoid or minimize the impacts to them. Having said that there is not a lot of value to them, they still should go through the exercise of demonstrating that they need to fill these wetlands before they propose to mitigate them. Let's see. I mentioned the wetland replication area. It has an opportunity to provide a benefit to the project and to the wetlands and the interests under your bylaw. The one thing we noticed throughout the site is you've got an awful lot of invasive species out there. So we understand that your bylaw requires 5 years of monitoring, and I think that'll be something that'll have to be very diligent during construction, during long-term monitoring, to try to make sure that the plant community that is developing in the replication area will be native and not overtaken by invasives. There is both buffer zone encroachment within the locally regulated 50-foot buffer zone, somewhat offset by the proposed buffer enhancements, and that we'll take a look at those carefully to, again, have the applicant demonstrate that they need to be within the buffer zone. I think we looked at most of them. It occurred to me we didn't look at one of them the other day, but we can talk about what the buffer zone, the composition of the buffer zone. Is it forested, or is it also comprised of a lot of the concrete and buildings and structures left over from the military base that it was? And then the last thing that we have on our sort of quick and dirty bullet list is just an additional consideration. While we were out there, Lisa and Frank were both there, there was a box turtle that was seen on site. This is a state species of special concern. It falls under the jurisdiction of Natural Heritage and Endangered Species Program. At the site visit, we verbalized to the applicant that they should probably go ahead and talk to Natural Heritage, see what they have to say. I understand that they have reached out, as has Mr. Galvin, and the response was almost cookie cutter the same from two different peer reviewers, that basically the Natural Heritage cannot take jurisdiction over the property. It's not mapped currently. They wouldn't insert jurisdiction because it's a species of special concern and not something threatened or endangered, but that they will work with the applicant to develop some sort of a turtle protection plan for construction so that there isn't an inadvertent take of the species under the Massachusetts Endangered Species Act. So that's all I really have to say. I'm going to turn it back to the commission and for discussion.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Amy?
This is a continuing project, correct, Amy?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, she'll be there.
But if you have any tonight,
No,
for the piece
no,
that
it's
she's
very
already-
well,
No new questions right now.
Lisa?
I don't have anything new.
Have any questions? I mean, we're going to be
Yeah.
discussing this for a while tonight, but
Right.
right now with the piece that Amy's just put forward.
Right, I think just a couple of the things that Amy mentioned about buffer zone encroachment. I mean, we do take the 50-foot buffer to the wetlands, serious under our bylaw. And wherever there's encroachment proposed, there really would have to be a good reason, like there was something already there, concrete, a disturbed area. Otherwise, applicants need to make the effort to pull things out of the wetland and out of the buffer. So if we feel like, there's some give and take in disturbed area, we may be able to go along with some mitigation and replication, but if it's simply a matter of you'd like to put the building there and there's a wetland there, that's not going to do it. We really need to protect the resource areas we're protecting. So.
Maybe at this time, we'll open it up to the applicant for their comments and thoughts.
Can you go off the plan so we can have probably just
Good idea.
the overall? I think it would be good to go back through Amy's context.
this is your bag, not mine.
Context of the plan itself. I'm not sure I can stick to a microphone and stand at the phone at the...
I'll talk loudly.
You have to
Maybe
hold
we
it
can
in your
move it
hands
back
like a
just so
singer.
we face it. Lisa's got one right here.
Oh, okay, maybe that'll work.
There's a mic right here, so.
Is it like one of these two plans?
That's all right, it should be standing and pointing, I'm sure. I think that's probably good stuff. Yeah. Want to make sure the audience can see it as well, so it can even turn a little bit
Splits them.
that way. We can push down a little. You've been out there.
We'll see how this goes. Just to go through a couple of Amy's comments, obviously, we concur with her about the small size and the origin or the nature of a lot of the wetlands that we would fill. We would not come in here this far into this project and ask you to fill those wetlands and provide the compensation we didn't if they did not have a low value. I know I haven't been at all the meetings with the commission, but I know that in the past that we've kind of reviewed some of this with you, so we've geared up to that. As far as the alternatives analysis that Amy's asking for, a lot of how we got here, we've talked with the commission about informally, or we've discussed and reviewed with staff, but I think she's right. I'm not sure all of that analysis has gotten into a written document, so we can certainly document some of that of how we got here as far as an alternatives analysis and demonstrate the need. Part of it's not just base and need, though. It's it's based also on something that Amy identified, and that there is a lot of value to consolidate this portion of the site as a single area where we're expanding the BBW, where we're taking out all of the buildings and the pavement that's in the buffer zone, and there's containers that are in the BBW that we're going to remove, and provide all of that mitigation as compensation, and not worry so much about little wetlands that were created from septic, from test pits or other kind of errant things that none of us, I think, are really sure occurred on the plan. So that's part of the reason why we've come in with the application that we have. The wetland replication we've provided is greater than 2 to 1. The buffer zone mitigation is well over 2 to 1. I wrote it down, but I can't remember what it is, but it's pretty high. It's like 20,000 square feet of the 50-foot buffer, and we're doing like 70,000 square feet of buffer zone restoration. So we've taken seriously comments and dialogue we've had with staff and with the commission in the past about the values. We take seriously the value of the 50-foot buffer, but there are some places on the plan where it encroaches in order to achieve the plan. One of the questions I had with you, which maybe we should do this offline in here,
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure that we were on the same page as to some of the areas that you had either concerns that we were filling a wetland, or particular concern areas where we were in a 50-foot buffer. And like I said, that might be something to...
Okay, all right, yeah.
Well, I think it's, we'd like to have things as transparent as possible.
Sure.
And so if there's, and we know we can't get into all the little bits and pieces.
Right.
But if we could have some clarity, I think that people that are in the audience would like to understand that, so.
This might be easier.
The blue ones are the ones.
So this
that one's
is the
so easy to
plan
use.
that... Maybe we can stick more than one on here.
Doesn't have the project overlaid on it.
So this plan doesn't have the project overlay, but this plan, I'm gonna... see if I
Yeah.
Can you see that?
Yeah.
Everybody,
Yeah.
trying to get myself out of the way.
Yeah, well, I want the folks to be able to see it too. Thank you.
So this is a plan that we used when we did our site walk last Wednesday.
Can you just kind of like show Hatherley and Tilden Road and maybe Wampatuck School?
So this is Hatherley Road. This is Tilden. The school is over here. The main entrance, if you're going to enter the site, is right here. So all the areas that are shown in green on this plan are wetlands that are not going to be disturbed or touched, but are present on the project site. The blue areas are the areas that we're talking about when we talk about a small area. There's several of them that look like there were test pits or excavations done at some point. One of them is in the remains of a railroad spur right up against a building. There's another one that's right up next to a concrete slab. A lot of these have probably created over time from buildings being torn down or just work where people did things out there and didn't backfill. And so that's what all of these blue areas. So I guess one of my questions for you was there a particular one of those wetlands that you were more concerned about? I got that impression in your letter, but I also don't want to pick it apart because I know you worked very hard this afternoon to have something for us, so.
So there's just, the one that jumps out is the one to the northeast of Hatherley.
This one?
Nope, up,
This
that one.
Okay.
Only because the site plan shows a structure being placed directly on top of that one. And I think Janet had noticed, and the commission had expressed, that there's some flooding issues in that area. So that's on the street. So again, I told you that Janet Bernardo and I would talk about that and figure that out, work with your engineers.
Yep.
Specifically because of the, some of the existing conditions, some icing in the winter, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then the other one that we kind of noticed with the buffer zone, I want to say it's wetland C. It's sort of the biggest, that down to the left, the green one.
This one.
Green one, is it C? I don't know, they all had letters that you're not filling, but that's got the buffer zone impacts on it.
Right, I think it has a stormwater basin in the
It does,
buffer zone.
to the northeast, I think.
Yes, along this edge.
North and east. And then there's some buffer zone encroachment on the backs of what looks like houses 37 through 40. So those are the two that actually kind of stuck out, but, just a quick and dirty review of what those conditions are. By the time we had gotten back into the woods the other day, we didn't actually go the whole way into the other side of it, so I don't know whether it continues to be forested the whole time, or if there's, again, some existing structures back there.
Okay.
But just providing that to the commission so they can sort of make a better informed, there's an encroachment in the 50-foot buffer, but it's a building, or maybe we can work with someone to adjust the shape or the configuration of the stormwater basin. I assume we probably can't adjust the size or the capacity of the stormwater basin.
Right, okay. That's really helpful to us.
Sure.
To kind of be able to know, and I think for the commission, the audience, to zero in on that. I had said to Amy when we were in the field, once they get a chance to really wrap their mind around this, and we'll make sure that you have all the wetland mitigation information. A lot of times we try to put as much of the plant list, construction specifications as we can on the plans.
Right, so we have that sheet.
Okay.
But maybe I misread it. I got the impression in the notice of intent that there was a written report of some sort. Maybe there isn't.
I'll check to make sure, because we want to make sure that she has all of that information. But I had said to her, if you have comments about plant lists, seed mixes, the construction sequence, how we want to go about it, any of those kinds of things, it's common in peer review for our colleagues to point out places where, you admitted this step or whatever it is. And so we won't be
we can go through that, but that's not,
any of those kinds of things. And we do want to make sure it's done correctly. We want to make sure it's monitored correctly, and I think it's to my client's benefit to make sure that we don't have a problem with invasive species coming in on the site where they don't belong,
or spreading.
or into the wetland replacement area. So, what else?
In the back side of that board, there's that one sheet that you're just kind of referring to in terms of the...
So this is, you have this sheet.
I have that sheet.
Okay. I'll check to make sure whether or not there's another sheet, or if there's something that was supposed to be an appendix that didn't get in, or whatever it might be. This is the sheet that shows the wetland replication and the buffer zone planting, and starts to have the list of plants, mitigation, all of that kind of stuff that starts to inform Amy and the commission how it's actually going to be constructed and built. And what that is right now there is a access way that comes in off of Tilden, and we're basically going to be going in and removing that. We are hopeful that the organic soil is underneath, so we remove and reuse. We'll know that when we take it out. If there's sufficient organic material, we'll reuse it. If there's not, we'll have to import material, and we included specifications for the organic content for that imported soil, both for the wetlands and for the buffer zone restoration, because we'll probably have to import some soil or some material or enhance on-site soil material for the buffer zone restoration area too. Just reading through my notes of what Amy had said. And then, like she said, we reached out to Natural Heritage. I think it was the day, I don't know if you forwarded the commission an email that I sent to you with the correspondence, but we reached out to them. I called Brian Madden, our wildlife scientist, and we were like, here's the pictures, and I contacted Amy and Janet and said, give me more of your pictures. I don't know if he has actually, did you report it on the VPRS?
No, I called the office and sent them the photos and heard back from Amy.
Brian's going to report it on the VPRS. I don't think he has yet, but he will.
For the folks in the audience that are wondering a little bit about this.
Different Amy, by the way.
Well, I can see a lot of people sort of, so when we walked the site visit, and we had made trips in through some of the different pieces looking at these isolated wetlands, when we were walking back to look at the site on the other side of Hadley Road, an eastern box turtle was in the pathway of where we're walking, and that's a protected, maybe you want to elaborate.
It's a species of special concern. The state has 3 levels of protection. It's the lowest level of protection, and Amy Ball, who's sitting here, commented earlier that the way the state's regulations are written, that If it's a species of special concern, which is the lower level, if the area is not already mapped by natural heritage and a project is proposed and you find a turtle, they do not come in and take permitting jurisdiction. Actually, the regs are written that they can't.
Right, yeah.
They're prohibited from doing that. What they recommended in an email dialogue with my staff and in the email dialogue with Pat is that while they can't come in and take jurisdiction on the project, you do need to take measures to avoid a take of the actual species. And so that's why you heard us, Amy mention and in writing her letter about a turtle protection plans. And these are plans that we put together for natural heritage that are oriented around the construction, that you take certain measures to ensure protection of the species prior to construction. It's not something that you really do real far in advance because it depends on the time of the year of the construction, it depends on if it's phased, there's a lot of things that go into it. But once this project gets advanced a little further, gets closer to the construction period, we'll re-engage with natural heritage. We'll present a turtle protection plan to them. They will approve that and then we will execute it and report to them on the results of the plan.
Thank you.
I think that's, do you guys have any questions or anything?
Penny?
Not at the moment. I'm just, waiting for everything to come together.
Sure.
But we're moving forward, definitely.
I'm good for now.
Paul? Lisa? Pat, do you want
But just one quick thing, I know that there's some demo work going on out there now, and it may be that they should hold off on that until we figure out where the turtles are, being located.
Scott, can you comment on that?
Yeah, so when we filed the RDA last fall for the demolition, the RDA covers all the buildings on the site, but the intent at the time, and still is the intent, was only to take down the 2 buildings that were condemned by the building inspector and were hazard. So those 2 buildings are down, and it's not our intent to go in and take anything else down until we're fully permitted.
Okay. Thanks.
So in terms of, there's lots of things to cover here, but, and we're going to open this up to the audience in a second. I'm just curious on the turtle piece. So would there be a sweep to see if there's any other?
Yes, the short story is that we spend a lot of time wandering around the woods looking for the turtles. You sweep for them to move them outside the construction footprint. That's kind of like the convinced.
All right.
Yeah, we already had this on, you remember one of our other projects? Which one was it, Pat? They had to go out?
Studley Farm.
Yeah.
Studley Farm.
Yeah, they had a plan for this.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I think at this time, I'm going to open it up to, unless anybody else from the applicant wants to speak right now, we're going to open this up to the audience. I'd like to remind everybody in the audience that this is a wetlands hearing this evening, and so our interest in this meeting is to discuss the wetlands portion of this project. There's lots of different facets that will be brought up. The planning board's going to be having hearings when they talk about traffic. The Conservation Commission and the planning board are going to work together towards stormwater and drainage. There's a number of different pieces that have to still be addressed, but what we're talking about this evening is the wetlands piece of this. And what you heard, Amy is our consultant from the Horsley Witten Group, and the Horsley Witten Group has lots of different people within their purview that are going to look at different facets of this. They'll have someone looking at the stormwater piece, there'll be people looking at traffic, a number of different pieces. But Amy's the wetlands person that's looking at this. In the proposed plan from the applicant, they're looking to remove some very small areas of isolated wetlands. The town of Scituate in our bylaws protects isolated wetlands. The state does not protect isolated wetlands. So we have some pieces in our bylaw that go beyond what the state would look to protect. The applicant's looking to remove some of those pieces of isolated wetland and give us a larger piece of what we call bordering vegetated wetland. So they would remove some of those small isolated wetlands and give back a larger piece of bordering vegetated wetland is part of the discussion that's going on here, along with how do we protect our buffer zones around the existing wetlands. Those are all pieces to be considered as we go through this process. So if anyone has any questions pertaining to the wetlands, that's what we'd like to hear from this evening. And open it up to anybody in the audience. Sure.
Karen Canfield, 39 Surfside. When you were saying you're going to excavate some of the watering and test, and then hopefully retain some organic material to use on site, is there any additional testing to make sure there's no contamination, or are you confident that enough of that has been done?
So contamination is another piece of the consideration on this site, and we are addressing that. We've discussed it at length between the planning board, between our commission, with the Board of Health, and that's part of the process in getting to a permitting stage with this. And our commission is not really have the purview for the contamination piece. In fact, it's a state piece that oversees that. Obviously, before any disturbances are going to be done, we're going to ask the applicant a number of questions. We opened this hearing a month,
6 weeks.
6 weeks ago, and we had up at the safety building, and a lot of folks were concerned about the contamination, different things that have been on the site. We do want to make sure that all those things are addressed. Both the town wants to be sure, and I'm sure the applicant wants to be sure that they're clear. But I'm trying to keep this to a wetlands hearing this evening.
That's what I meant, the stuff that's going to be relocated on site.
Okay.
Is there anything in that plan to test in that? Is there an interim step, or that'll be covered when you do the overall site?
Is there someone that wants to...
What's the question, Frank? I don't understand.
Well, if there's material that's taken, I guess, from other locations, like when you remove the roadway and you remove some of these buildings, there's probably not going to be enough natural material.
So you bring some in.
So we're going to bring some in.
And she has the specifications.
So they're going to have specifications for that. I think the question was, if those materials were brought from somewhere else on the site, are they looked at? I think is what that, is how that was looked.
Is the intention to bring?
We're going to reuse the organic soils within the footprint of beneath the pavement that's in the wetland. Nowadays, people don't really fill wetlands anymore, but there was this period where someone would come in, they would strip the organic material out and reuse it somewhere else. I'm not really convinced with the history of this site way back then that they really did that. I think they probably just dumped and paved right over. So I think that on this site, we will be able to simply remove the pavement, and the sub-base of the pavement and the organic material will be there. And it'll be a matter of kind of fluffing it a little bit. We'll have to evaluate that. But if that's not sufficient, we will be importing organic soil material onto the site for the wetlands.
Okay, so that'll come from off-site.
That will come from off-site.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in the audience? Yes, sir.
Frank, Aaron McCormick from 29 Marion Road Extension. I think that in the presentation about the reallocation of existing small wetlands and the replacement of those with larger wetlands, the large variable is the sequencing of the building, and since building is going to take 5 to 6 years, I wonder how both the applicant and the commission view the timelines in which wetlands will be built over and other wetlands will be created, particularly the large wetland that's up in the area where the buildings are currently.
Okay, so in the sequencing of things, replacing or replicating wetlands, when would that take place in the project? Is that then something that would get started right away?
It will be done earlier in the process. I'm not sure it will be the very first thing that we do, but it will be done earlier in the process.
Depends on the time of year.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, it depends on the time of year.
Well, I guess it's a good point. We'd certainly like to not...
Planting in December.
Within the first
not a good
year.
idea.
Yeah, within the first year, for sure.
I think that would be a fair thing to have an
Right.
idea on that. Obviously, you're looking to remove some wetlands. We want to be sure that the wetlands replication takes place, so...
That could be in the ordinance.
And
Yeah, it could be.
certainly, in a lot of cases, we looked at wetlands replication gets started fairly soon because it does take time to get established. And if it's habitat or whatever, there's animals, whatever that's being disturbed, certainly to have a place for them to relocate to would be better than having that happen after the disturbance of the
Right.
development. That's a valid...
It is, it does depend on when, I think Scott's answer of in the first year is a good response.
I think, yeah, but that's a good
Because
point. I mean, if
it
you
depends on when construction starts. If we started in the late fall, we would not want to start our wetland replication area at that time of year. So that would mean some construction might run prior to.
But you think about it, you know, if there's areas that are natural right now that are going to be disturbed, ideally, there'd be wetlands areas or buffer areas that were established.
Right.
So that there was habitat for those animals to relocate
Right.
to.
And you said construction is going to be phased?
Mm-hmm.
So, right.
Yeah, it's not all going to be
in
built
and
out at once,
right.
so
Take everything out and then put
you
everything
can
back
look
in.
at that as some sort of ratio or something.
Right.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
So as a follow-up, I don't think it's unreasonable for the town to plan for the eventuality that the site may not make the full 5 years, economics change, people want to live elsewhere, the applicants sell the property on to somebody else to be further developed. I think if there's that sort of wetlands mitigation, it doesn't have to be immediate, of course, but it should be within a reasonable time frame from the beginning of the project, so that if things change and time moves on,
Sure.
either subsequent owners of the property are deemed restricted to follow through on the plan, or it's already executed so that there's not a lingering problem.
Well, I think having it already executed would be even better, but it'll be part of the orders of conditions for this project, so someone else picking this up would then have to come back to change those orders if that happened.
And one last question?
Sure.
Where did you find the box turtle?
Oh, we're not telling.
They drove it out there.
We found it on the site.
Where was it?
On the concrete pad.
Oh, yeah, seriously.
Next to where the buildings
concrete.
were knocked down, it was on concrete.
Was he really?
He was sunning himself.
Just one, yeah, he probably was.
They do sun themselves.
They do, they're reptiles.
Right. Get warm.
Anybody else in the audience to, yes, ma'am.
Christine Loeb, Canton, actually. On the wetlands that are being filled in, were there wetlands indicator plants there, or were they really just like a hole in the sand that got filled with rainwater?
Some of them really were, kind of just a hole.
Looked like a hole that filled with water, but they met the technical criteria of having hydric soil, indicators of hydrology and plants, or we would not have delineated them, even as small as they were. So, but some of them very much to the casual observer would look like a hole in the ground, or would just look like the woods.
Right, yeah.
Wouldn't necessarily look or feel like a wetland to.
Because the practical matter, the prior ORAD in this project for involvement didn't identify.
Well,
I remember that.
let's say everybody here did a better job of reviewing it. I can tell you that, you know, I've been out to the site now multiple times, both for the ORAD prior to this, for this site visit, and I think that it's a fair description to say that these small isolated wetlands are man-made. They're clearly dug into an area that doesn't, some of them contain footings or foundations, bases for other pieces. As they pointed out, they run along a railroad bed, but nonetheless, they become an isolated wetland and they have to be dealt with. And then we go through the process of determining their value and how do we deal with that. And that's part of that process through these hearings. Anybody else? Again, I can tell you that this isn't going to be a series of meetings, not only with our commission, but with others, and it's a process the applicant would like to hear from us and see what our thoughts are on the mitigation, some of these restorations, so that the next boards or committees can also weigh in on their pieces. So that's part of this process. There'll be, I don't know, when's the planning board?
13th. 13th of July.
Would be a joint meeting. Yeah, a meeting. And that'll be actually a joint meeting with us and the planning board, because we'll be looking at wetlands and stormwater. We know that it's a wet site, so we know that other pieces have to be done. The hopes of our commission, when they deal with some of these stormwater areas and things like that, that there can actually be natural looking, maybe more habitat enhancement within those areas as well. So we'll be talking about that as we go forward. Yes, ma'am.
I had a question. Oh, sorry. Erin Butler, 19 Garden Road in Scituate. I had a question. After thinking about the box turtle, you were saying he was found in the concrete near the torn down buildings. I'm not 100% sure about what bull rats are, or how they're drawn up, but it sounds like to me there may have been changes in the area. I'm not sure if that's the area you were talking about, but could it be possible that now that there are not structures, that the water or the wetlands are different from when the plans were drawn up 3 years ago? And again, I might not completely understand how the plans are drawn up, but it was recommended to continue the current map, from my understanding, and maybe it's just a clarification.
So the ANRAD was done, the applicant asks that the commission agree to all the wetlands delineation before they get started, so that they have a clear understanding of the issues that they have to deal with when they develop a piece of property. So they go through that whole process, and the commission takes it seriously. We spent a lot of time with those hearings to determine just where those wetlands are. And the buildings that were torn down, they didn't remove any of the foundations. They just knocked down the structure. So there's still footings, there's still slabs, there's piles of brick where some of the buildings were. Some of the buildings were demolished years before this happened. Some of them collapsed over time for lack of use. So, but in all those cases, there's still a slab and a foundation in place. So there's not additional holes or changes to the topography right now. Typically, the commission can continue some of those findings, just like we can continue an order of conditions if we feel that nothing has changed. If we think that within that area, there's no changes to the topography, or there's no diversion of any water or anything onto those other places, it's not uncommon that we'd continue those for a period of time. Kind of one of the strange things about some of these rules and regulations, that area is not considered habitat for those turtles by the state. So the state doesn't look at that and say, well, wait a minute, you guys have to stop and readdress all that. We want you to look for turtles. We want to make sure that none are destroyed in this process. But they don't come forward and say, you've got to protect that area because there's some turtles in there. It's a matter of trying to protect the ones that are there, and then possibly through the development of this work, is there habitat that could help them in certain areas. Okay?
A new big habitat.
Habitat enhancement.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
Shane Belton, 6 Kingsway. And during the last meeting, you talked about how there was, came up that the applicant has done their own testing of the contaminants that was above and beyond what was done before, but it wasn't publicly available, but they said they actually had no problem sharing it they just had to go through some internal approvals and kind of figure out the best way to share that. Has there been any advancement in that, or is there any?
We haven't gotten anything from them, and again, we've talked internally with, like, different boards. Our Board of Health actually has some purview in the contamination issue, or probably the most purview in that, as opposed to conservation. And so we're not trying to pass the buck around, but we think that's better dealt with, and we've been talking about some sort of meeting where that information can be disseminated, or more information can be given out. But where we don't feel that we have a real jurisdiction on that, we're not going to deal with that. It's certainly a valid question.
Yeah, so that's totally fair, but you have them in the audience, you're probably doing them a favor, because that's probably doing them a favor, say, hey, can you put this together?
We're trying to get something to get to that, and I can tell you that Scituate's fortunate in the health agent that we do have is very knowledgeable in these pieces, and we've had discussions. The past records of the contamination have been pulled out, the state filing, so it's not being brushed over.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was. So, can I ask another question?
Sure.
Unrelated. What was the most recent demolition? When you said there was demolition done recently, was it years ago, or is that just last weeks?
November of last year.
All right.
And it's a couple of the buildings, if you came in off of Tilden Road, they would have been on your left. And they were brick buildings, and most of that material is there. They've just been knocked down. I think maybe they took away like the wood products and stuff, but the brick and everything is still piled up on the foundations from what we could see walking around.
Is there any other demolition planned in the near future, or?
I think that they just said that they were going to wait until this was all approved. They took down the buildings that the building department had found to be condemned.
No, thanks.
Yes, ma'am.
Laura Curtin, 58 Kenneth Road. I just had a question regarding what Amy was talking about with the wetland on the Hatherley Road side of the project, and her concern with there being a structure proposed to go over that. Wondering if a little bit more could be discussed, as I believe those are going to be 3 or 4 bedroom houses that are going in there, so I'm assuming that's what the structure is.
Sure. Maybe if you take that map and go to the proposed development, you can show roughly where that is, and maybe Amy can elaborate a little bit more.
And I guess specifically, what would be the mitigation now?
Well, we don't know yet.
So there's 2 isolated wetlands on the east side of Hatherley Road. These would be filled in as part of the single-family lots on the opposite side. And this replication area down here accounts for all of those blue areas. It's 2 times. These account for roughly 7,000 square feet. This accounts for about 14,000 or 15,000. So it's replicated on the opposite side.
So the mitigation for the area on the Hatherley Road side is considered being done in the new wetland that's being constructed?
Right.
And is that something that's acceptable? I don't know.
Well, again, part of the piece that was requested was an alternatives analysis, so what would be the alternative to leaving it there, and then what's the gain in this wetlands replication? Just, and again, not to endorse this, or not to seem, we've got a lot of process to go through to look at this, but typically, just like getting contiguous pieces of land to protect for wetlands, a larger wetlands area typically has greater value than a small isolated well. It's not that it's not important, but typically if you look and say what's better for the habitat, what's better for the environment, would be to have a larger piece of wetlands than a small man-made piece of wetlands in an area. So I thought, when we look at this, is are we getting a good replacement for that isolated wetlands? Is what they're proposing sufficient to allow them to remove a piece of isolated wetlands? Or do we feel that that's important and we want it to stay? And there's a buffer around the isolated wetlands as well.
And in that piece of wetland, is that natural, or does that look like it was a pit as well, a testing pit?
That piece there looks to me like it was dug by, it was man-made. It was a hole that was dug at some point in time for testing. You know, over the years, there's been a lot of people interested in that property. They're supposed to fill those test pits back in, but it doesn't always happen. And in most of these cases, it was either a foundation or some sort of man-made ditch or something. It's kind of barely clear that it wasn't natural.
So it could have been from a previous structure that was there?
Yeah,
could have been.
Or a test pit.
Or a test pit.
Come out to dig the soils and test them.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Elise Klein, Chief Justice. What kind of oversight is going, my concern is the health and safety of the town. You know, that we are not going to be exploited and you know, our wetlands are going to be respected. What kind of oversight or continuous oversight would occur when the building progresses? Is that
Sure. No, I think that's a fair question. You know, there's different town boards that oversee this. Typically, when a project starts, if it's a small project, like a single-family home or something like that, we would have a pre-construction conference, and then periodically the applicant developer would submit information on where the process is in this. This is obviously a much larger project. We'll have pre-construction probably more than once because there'll be phases for the commission to look at. There'll also be areas where the planning board and others will be looking at that. We're going to rely on our consultants for a big piece of this because it's going to be more than the town agent or inspectors or the planning board could do. So in this case, the town's retained the group Horsley Witten to look at this with us, and that will be a piece that we discuss as we move forward as to how these things are overseen. But all the different pieces that are constructed, the wetlands replication, things like that, all have to be inspected, reviewed, make sure that they're growing properly. So that's a process that would go on throughout the duration of the project and maybe for a little while afterwards. I don't think there'll be lack of supervision, but it certainly needs to be done on a place this size. There's a school nearby, and there's habitat for lots of animals, and we want to be sure that those things are looked after as well. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Christine Loeb again. The Prune Grants Group had submitted a letter for the record stating all the issues that we were concerned with and ways that we felt would be most appropriate to address those concerns. In relation to the ones that were about the wetlands, will you be able to respond to us as far as what your intent is so we know whether you're in agreement with, you know, obviously not tonight because you've had no time to really look at the letter. We tried to get it to you sooner, but it was late in the day.
Sure. We'll certainly address these pieces, and maybe at that meeting we'll have the opportunity to address some of them and continue to do that. And the question I had, there's been a couple of times it's been brought up about a MEPA filing, and I just wonder if anybody wants to comment on that. I want the applicant or our consultant. Go ahead.
Sure. The trigger for filing with MEPA is the requirement for state action, state permits. And this project doesn't have any required state permits, so MEPA doesn't have any jurisdiction over this project. So there will not be a filing.
Okay. Pat, do you have any comment on that, or Amy?
No, I mean,
No, he's
yeah,
right.
I'll check on that, but I think as far as what he's saying on the state permits, if you were going to be altering a bordering vegetated wetland or, disturbing more than 5,000 square feet of bordering, you would certainly trigger it, but,
Yeah, that's correct. So I actually had a conversation with Deirdre Buckley, who's the director of MEPA, about this, because I think a resident had called and she was calling me asking about this, and that was the conversation we had.
Okay. Amy, if you wouldn't mind passing that on to Janet as well, I'd just like to get her input.
About the MEPA filing? Sure, sure. I'm not sure what stormwater thresholds, I don't believe there are any.
right, I mean, we could talk about it with Amy too.
Okay.
On this.
All right.
Yeah, I did a quick skim of the MEPA thresholds for wetlands.
Okay.
And when it comes to that, they would have to trigger, as is it Scott had said, there's no need for a state-issued permit, such as a, water quality cert or a Chapter 91 or like a take from natural heritage or something like that. That's not required for this project, and they don't trigger any of the wetland thresholds on top of that. And I don't believe there's any for stormwater. And
You
you're
can
not,
keep asking that question at different boards as well, but on the wetlands piece, I think we're
I think
pretty
you're good there.
confident that we don't do that. Anybody else? So we're going to continue this hearing. The next meeting will be on the 13th, which is a Thursday.
That's the combined meeting with planning board.
Because this is going to be a combined meeting with the planning board, so it's not going to be on the night of our normal conservation hearing, and I think it's already, has it been decided where they're going to hold that?
Yeah, it's going to be 7 PM up at the Public Safety Building further down Chief Justice Cushion Highway. And I think too, as far as the focus, we'll probably focus more on the stormwater issues, going through the whole stormwater application and DEP regs, but we can get back to people on some of
Set up a meeting.
Yeah, sorry.
So before we jump to July 13th, do you have a public hearing before July 13th?
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if whether or not this should be continued. I know July 13th is joint with the planning board to talk about stormwater, but should we continue this to the next hearing to continue the
Which is
wetland discussion?
July, 2nd, I thought I heard?
That would be July 5th.
5th.
You might as well stay overnight.
Oh, we got some.
Are there additional pieces of the wetland? I mean, we barely got this information, so we certainly could discuss, we've got more things to discuss with the wetlands, I'm sure. If either of you...
That's up to the
one question,
applicant.
as Frank, we do have, we discussed this, quorum issues that I'd like to know, because if any of the commission members, I know that's vacation and all, if anyone isn't going to be there, we don't want to lose the quorum which we have right now.
Yeah.
So that's one of the questions. I understand it's the 4th of July.
Right. We're also hopeful to have another member, but we're already missing, that person's already missed 2 meetings.
Understood, but what I'm saying for, when Ian is asking the question, if any of the board members, and again, we're not intruding into anyone's personal life, if they're already scheduled not to be here, then we wouldn't want to be on July 5th anyhow. That's the question.
If you don't know right now whether or not you'll be here on July 5th, I don't think it would hurt to continue to July 5th, and if we don't have a quorum, we ask to continue.
We'd let you know before.
I just don't want to, I'm asking the question, do we want to jump that far in advance when Amy's just barely started her review?
Right.
And I'm assuming at the planning board meeting, you won't be discussing wetland issues, it'll only be stormwater, which would push a wetland discussion further into
Fair enough, so for July 5th,
August.
we'd be happy to come back, and then if there was an issue, you could let us know in advance.
I don't have a problem continuing it to July 5th.
Okay. Anyone else?
That's fine with me.
I make,
good.
I don't know, will we see you on July 5th?
Yep.
Lasted a long time.
Yep.
That's a good point, thank you, Ann.
Frank, I hope he's gonna be here, because July 5th, we're gonna dedicate that area as the Gallatin Wildlife Habitat.
Turtle Sanctuary.
Turtle Sanctuary.
That turtle will name him
I make a motion that we continue to July 5th, Toll Brothers Hathaway Road at 6:50.
Second.
Do we want to do that? That's, I guess so.
You know, wonder.
Is that convenient for,
something
I mean,
doesn't
6:50?
6:30?
6:50?
6:50? No, we already got 6:30 and 6:40.
So 6:50.
Yeah. Do you want to second that?
All in favor? Great.
People should check the website too, in case there is a continuance. Make
Thanks
sure
very
you-
much. That meeting will be
Here. That'll
Yeah.
be here.
And then I guess I'll check.
Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
It's most helpful for me to just give you a list of the stuff we have and then
Thanks for this
So
information.
we got a bunch of stuff.
Take the logo.
Yeah.
It's a turtle with a wave.
Yeah, I was hoping it was gonna be August sometime, maybe I'll be out of here, but that's, yeah, you'll know it's me.
My yard.
Do you have the right habitat? What's behind you?
Yeah. It's that far away.
1 second.
You had, which of these did you have? This one here.
Not saying the same thing, so that's why I thought maybe there was
I brought all the information, I'll show it to them, they're both going on. I met the guy on site. Yeah, it looks good. Hey, Brendan, how you doing? Yeah, it looks good, but I think there's still supposed to be more plantings and stuff out there.
Fence isn't there?
No.
What I said in my letter was, the purpose of the fence was to keep the buffer zone, but the edge of it is growing so thick. It's a lot thicker than it was in the original road.
All right, I'll bring that up with them today. I'll see what the plantings weren't identified, spelled out. It just said a planting plan will be submitted. But,
Hang in.
so it's just landscaping. All right, I'll bring the plans up to them and let them look at it. But, and that other one's not yours, Stockbridge?
Yeah, this is.
Oh, okay, that's Bob O'Neill, yeah, he was in. The only thing different was there was a hammerhead driveway, and that wasn't, but you really need that on that street.
On that street?
Yeah, so I'll argue that they might just say, yeah, they might say, put a couple of plants, but that should stay.
So he's putting the markers in?
Yeah, they were in. No stormwater permit, there was no stormwater permit for that one, right? They were under the threshold? Okay. All right, you can go home, I guess. I would rather you did. Oh, yeah, you might want to watch this one. Yes. Yes, yeah, sure, right. That's Carol's not here. Yeah. Carol's not here. I have piles of checks. I don't even know what to do with them. I had like 8 of them. I'm like, how do I even get them something like collected?
Down the end, right inside. There's just one, and yeah, they're the same.
All right, let's go. Thanks for getting that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How are you, young fella? Hello, Captain, how are you doing? Good. Don't you stay with us for a while?
You got all this, what do you work, 20 hours a month?
12 days a month.
Jeez. You know what?
What, that's more than you, though.
No, wait a minute. Someone who's retired works more than that.
Yes. Pilots, when they retire, they say, I'm gonna get another job. And all the other jobs they can get are harder.
Go do candling.
I know.
Go do candling. What's that? They literally put a candle in your... No, push the wax out?
It's not down there. No, it's...
Oh, the laundry area.
Oh, yeah, no, my...
Yeah, and I think Lorraine has already called her.
No, it's...
Oh, good.
I guess she's coming in on the 11th, whatever the BOS meeting is.
Yeah. Oh, good.
So I'm hopeful that
No, I don't want it to be discouraged.
No.
There's certainly so many pros to all
Oh,
this.
well, come on, let's get going.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
It's kind of frustrating.
I am
Also, there's
not happy.
well, if you don't
Looks like we had a mob scene here. He's talking to me.
Oh, yeah, it's crazy. Oh, there's a guy at the pumpkin field. There were guys that probably wouldn't want the songs, but to me it was like, he was like, oh, so he went over everything.
A lot of meetings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Next.
Cotter, lots 9A, Surfside Road, new build. Good evening.
Evening. Brendan Sullivan, Consulting, here representing the Cotters. So a couple changes I made to the plan. I think I dropped a set up to your office earlier yesterday.
Oh, he's the only one that got it. I don't have to use
Well, Brendan, go through an explanation then.
I can't remember what we asked you to do.
So from a couple comments from last meeting where I did provide it's approximately a 30-foot buffer, which I'm calling a no-mow area, which is going over both lots. I know the next lot's coming up. So it extends, looks like about 15, 20 feet into the lawn area. We did on this one, we took the house, we moved it to the north, approximately 10 feet, and increased the buffer to the wetlands to 55 feet. It used to be 52 feet. Gives us a little more room there. We've also added an infiltration trench for the roof leaders at the back of the house to help promote some infiltration from the roof runoff. One of the comments from Rebecca Haney from CZM was that she didn't want to see any sonotube construction or foundations for the deck supports. So I added a note on the plan that all deck supports shall be driven and not sonotube foundations. And I think that's really about it. We did get the letter back from Environmental.
Yeah, I just gave that out. So.
Okay, they basically confirmed the line that we had. As Pat said at last meeting, might be within a foot or two here or there, but it's there. He agreed with the line we had. The other comment from last time was that I didn't have the Barry Beach checked off on the NOI application, and I had since forwarded that to DEP, copy Pat on it, and they wanted, I sent off a blank form, not a blank form, but unsigned form. They wanted a signature form, so I sent that off earlier this week as well. And I've not heard any comments since then.
So is there a DEP number issued?
Oh, yes.
Now?
Yeah, there was a DEP number at the last hearing.
But no comment after letting him know it was a buried beach?
No. Another attorney, Don Nagel, was actually down at DEP today. He mentioned the site to somebody at DEP, and he said they have no problems with it.
So when Lucas, Pat, reviewed this, they obviously looked at that wetlands line. I'm just looking real quick. And did they comment on all the other resource areas?
Yeah, they agreed with us on the barrier beach status. I think initially Zimmer had called it bordering land subject to flooding, but it's really, it's really land subject to coastal storm flowage because it's tidal on one side and it's the ocean storms on the other. So he just clarified that. I don't think that's a problem for Zimmer. But the barrier beach thing would be the one thing that would lead to comments by DEP. And you know, I could verify with Greg that they're satisfied with that.
Okay.
Because usually they only comment when they give us the number, and now they got this information afterwards. So, you know, I could check on that.
Is it an AE zone or?
Yeah. Part of it's V, front of the lot, a V maybe out by the street.
No, there's a V across the street.
Across the street.
I believe it goes to an AO.
Oh, yeah, that's it, AO and then
AO along the road, and then it goes to an AE in the back. That's typically how the barrier beaches work. Basically, the waves crash in the seawall, then it becomes an AO, the water rushes down, and then it becomes an AE with the still water behind it.
Yeah, the only thing, the performance standards for a barrier beach is interrupting of flow. You don't want to cause flooding or channelization anywhere. And by going up on the wooden pilings above base flood elevation, kind of take care of that. The other things that pulled it out is 50-foot buffer to like the bordering vegetated line with in the salt pond. So.
What's the, so the elevation of the pilings is gonna be, the finished flow is gonna be 17?
Yeah. Top of pile is about 15.
And the grade, the existing grade? 7?
Approximately 7, yep.
So there's gonna be about 10 feet underneath this house?
Right.
Penny?
No, I don't have any questions.
Did what we asked him to do.
Yeah.
Richard?
Did what we did what we
good to me.
asked him to do.
Lisa?
I mean, it's a tough site, but they've responded to all the concerns we had at the last meeting.
Anybody in the audience with any questions about Lot 9A, Surfside?
Also notice, by the way, we got addresses for both of these.
Yeah.
This is 72, the other one's 70. Just so you know, it's on the title block on the plan.
9A 72?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So this no-mow area is about 30 feet. So that's something that's essentially going to become mitigation for this?
Yeah, that's what we were thinking of, yeah. I mean, if you want to add in the conditions to put a couple markers out there or a split rail fence or something, that's...
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
That's a good offer.
And rather than plant it, just let it revegetate.
I think so.
What's in that now? What's in the growth?
It's a lawn area.
Turf lawn, yeah.
Yeah, but beyond that,
Oh, yeah, there's healthy plants and there's some invasives. There's some not Phragmites out there.
right.
But then there's high tide bush and there's,
Do you think it's worth planting anything in that area, or do you
No,
think it's better off to let it come in naturally?
I don't know what that would be the best.
In the area, what, in the areas where the shrubbery already is, or?
No, this,
Or you're not gonna.
The no
mow
mow
it.
zone.
Oh, okay.
yeah, I mean, is it worth trying to plant anything?
To try to control Phragmites, especially on the furthest lot south, there's a lot of Phragmites there.
Which
so-
that's this one.
Yeah.
Probably due to this, there's a pipe outlet at the furthest corner from a drainage, from a street drain.
Right.
So that's probably promoting some freshwater flow in it, probably that, and the freshwater promotes the frag.
Drainage pipes, huh?
But I mean,
Yeah,
being-
right. Yeah.
But
The Phragmites are gonna win anyway.
They're gonna
Yeah.
eventually not be invasive. They're gonna be natural.
down in this area, it's not like it goes to like a, it almost is like a little bank there, and then it drops in just a rocky, the tide there, nothing's really gonna grow
Sure.
near there where the frags are.
Yeah, no, I'm just, we do look for some mitigation in
Yeah.
terms of planting.
Well, I mean, in lieu of the markers of the fence, we could certainly put, a row of, or put some, high bush boomers in there or something to delineate the area and to.
Why don't we take it up, it's been discussed, and we'll
Okay.
kind of talk about it and
Yeah,
see what we
'cause-
think is the most,
Yeah, there is some Rosa rugosa down there that's in that same lot area.
we could certainly
yeah.
think about what would be the best piece along the back there. Right. And so Carter Lot 10.
Well, wait a minute.
We gotta finish
Oh,
this
yeah.
one.
To close this, I make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Penny.
Frank's
You're
getting
welcome.
confused.
I'm usually confused.
We know
I'm
that.
confused.
Don't worry about it.
Oh, thank you.
Carter Lot 10.
So lot 10 is basically the same thing. I didn't move the house at all in this location from previously. Same thing, I added the stone infiltration trench in the back in a no-mow area that extends from Nang A onto this lot. I did not include the existing, we looked at it as a garden before. It hasn't been maintained as a garden in probably a couple of years. It's probably overgrown a little bit. I'm sorry.
I wasn't as confused as you thought.
No, I guess not.
Thank you.
That helps a lot.
Sorry about that. So,
This one has.
like I said, added the infiltration trench, the same note about the deck supports, shall be driven on sonotubes. As I mentioned, we didn't move this house location at all. We're already almost 62 feet away from the wetlands. I added the no-mow area, extended from lot 9A onto here. I didn't include, like I said, that garden area. It's kind of an overgrown area. It's certainly not a garden today. It's like more just an overgrown. If you wanted to, I could either leave the garden area there for someone to replant, or if you'd rather, I could extend the no-mow area to in front of the garden, so it includes the garden area. If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, to my way of thinking, that would be the best use of that. Just
Okay.
continue that line sort of across there and let that all be natural.
Okay.
And again, maybe we'll just think about what's the best, whether to leave it alone, get the markers, or do we do some enhancement with some better plantings?
You could always do a mix of both, like you said, plant a row to delineate, like Rosa rugosa or something, and then let what's behind
Mother
it
Nature.
naturally,
Okay,
Why is nature always mother?
all right.
I don't know. Father Nature, no. Lord have mercy. Because you're not nurturing. You have to be nurturing.
You definitely are on the right side of the table, you two. On the left side of the table.
And we're good over here.
It's a first. Careful what you, you're gonna get Bill back.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. Anybody else? Anybody in the audience?
I make a motion then to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it Bellew?
Polio.
Sorry. Bellew, sorry.
That's okay.
77 Rebecca
yeah.
Road renovation.
Oh,
Come on up.
Oh, no.
I'm sure no one's ever gotten that wrong before, right?
You're the
First time.
Sorry.
No, it's not a problem.
20 is a week.
Did we,
So,
was it the green card?
Yes, so on June 7th, you reviewed our plans. Our cousin Jeffrey Sill was here representing us because we were out of town.
Right.
And we did not submit the green card showing that we had sent the certified letters to our butters.
Right.
We're following up because you should have those now, those cards.
They did come
Carol,
in.
they came in, because Carol, my coworker's been out for a while.
Oh.
And you dropped them off.
Probably dropped them
Yeah,
off.
you dropped them
I
off.
saw you with them.
That first blank look you
Yeah, all right, that's right, you were in my office.
If they're not here, we don't know where they are, so we're hoping they're here.
We'll believe
Come
you.
in. I was here. I don't know where they ended up.
Yeah.
Do we have,
Yeah, somewhere.
Pat, do you have a plan or something of this project? Sure, thank you.
Yep, here we go, get the cards.
There they are.
$46.
Well, he did try, your cousin he did his best.
He did. Wasn't his fault.
So did you get a new plan? Is that what you're saying?
No, but you're gonna share that with me,
Oh,
aren't you?
yeah, no, I'm just wondering what Pat's saying.
Is that the original one, yeah?
This is the original.
Same plan.
Yeah.
And this is,
So are you demolishing the existing?
No, we're renovating.
Okay.
they're gonna make it pretty.
Are you going up on piling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got your...
And the lifting what's there then? Up?
Yes,
Wow.
we're lifting what's there, and then
Expanding and...
You're adding decks,
the deck's already there.
okay?
On the first and second floor, we're adding a third floor that will have a deck.
Okay, that's not done.
Really?
Putting it up on
It's
pilings.
basically.
We're lifting it up and building a small 360 square foot, I think it is, third floor.
Right.
That's not ours.
And foundations all getting pulled out.
Right.
Yeah, you learned that one, huh?
Yes, all of it.
By the way.
Right.
So much for paving.
So we should commiserate with you, is that right?
No, it's just, we've had another hearing where that was the final piece and it never get taken care of.
Oh, I see.
So what's the problem? And this is driven piles? Or concrete?
Concrete, because there's no way to put the house the way we understand it.
Got it. Okay.
You can't put it in the street?
We can, but we might have to send out those green letters again if we do that.
What's the elevation that this, I guess, well, at some point, we'll need some sort of building plan.
Foundation
plan,
Piling
so-
plan and first floor elevation.
Okay,
and
yep.
Top of the pilings.
You met with Bob in the building department?
Yes, we did.
The day-
Yeah.
Yes, we
And
did.
he gave you the information of what you need to give to him.
Yeah, that was approved last Thursday, or the last Wednesday, by the zoning board of appeals.
Oh, okay.
So that was approved,
So the
and then there's a
expansion.
20-day appeal period before it's filed with the county or
Get the
something.
building
and-
permit.
Right.
And so our next step would be to go to the structural engineer, and the structural engineer will come back with the framing plan, the pile, or the, you know, the
Yeah.
Top
Well, that's what we need.
Concrete
Thank you, that
piers
plan,
plan.
and so forth. And I understood from our
This
previous
has the
conversation that
top
we'd have order of conditions that, where they have to be.
Right. Bill include that in order of conditions. Sign off on the building permit so we get a copy of that.
Okay.
FEMA 16, top 18 feet, first floor 1810. what I got.
And zoning had to review it because it was an expansion of the existing size of the house.
Is increase in square footage of more than 20%.
Penny?
No,
We're good?
I'm all set.
Richard, good?
Looks great.
Lisa? Anything else, Pat? Anybody in the audience? Pretty quiet. So, well, if we were to close this, the only thing probably part of our orders would be that we'd get the structural plans and the foundation plan. You're gonna be removing the old foundation and all that sort of stuff. Obviously, all that debris's gotta be taken off site.
Right.
You've gotta make sure that the fill and everything put around this is all contained and whatnot. Thinking about storms and stuff like that.
Right.
So we don't have overwash on somebody else's property. But
course,
a lot of
yeah.
those things will wind up in the orders
Okay.
anyways.
Okay, so that will give us literally our marching orders in
List of
terms of when we need to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when we give you we get the order conditions and you start, prior to starting, your contractor or whoever should have a pre-construction meeting with the conservation agent.
Okay.
And just sort of looking things over and making sure things are in place.
Perfect.
Do we, are we worried about any kind of erosion control around this one?
I mean, it's more of a time of year when you're gonna do it. If you're doing it in the winter, it's gonna be a tough job to do.
You have a fairly flat site, but in a lot of cases, what we do ask people to do is put either some sort of silt sock or silt fence or something around there. A lot of times, that's not the best thing for here, because if you can get a storm or something like that, that could all wind up as a big mess as well.
Right.
So what we're really just concerned about, if they're disturbing this site, anything pitches towards the road or a way that we don't have silt and debris running down and into the storm drains and stuff like that. So something like that will be in your orders.
Okay.
All right?
Perfect.
But we know that you're trying to get out of harm's way as well, so we're
We
not
are, we are.
an obstructionist in that, that's for sure.
Thank you.
All right?
I make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great.
So
Good luck with
conditions, conditions will be ready in 2 weeks, so that'll be on the 3rd. You don't necessarily have to come, we'll sign them off and get them to you.
Yeah, so the next time we meet, we approve those orders of conditions, and then you can move forward after that.
Okay, great.
All right?
Yeah, thank you so very much.
Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Columbia Gas Project, Egypt Beach.
Okay, this is a Merrill project. There's like 2 or 3 streets down there. They're gonna be running gas lines, and it's gonna be through the middle of the street. And they're gonna refill every day and then just leave a metal plate where the next section is gonna be. Pretty straightforward. We've been doing RDAs for these, so. So I asked him, I said, how badly do you need this? He says it can wait for an official RDA at the next meeting, so.
Okay.
Just put it on informally today. We miss Carol, let me tell you.
Yeah.
So we have to get it publicized, so then we can
Yes,
just
yep,
give it a
Yeah.
right. And, yeah, they weren't gonna be able to start till right after that anyway, so.
Yeah. I heard that they don't really need help at the Board of Health and that they could just work down in our office for a while.
She's getting the hang of it too, you know, she knows all the lingo.
The exchange program.
Yeah. We owe them one.
Yeah, I guess, huh?
greatly appreciate.
Thanks for filling in tonight.
Yeah.
Problem.
You wouldn't miss this kind of fun, huh?
Glad to help.
Thank you.
Well, we're very appreciative.
And you can fill in for Bill. Certificates of compliance, 155 Humrock Beach Road.
Yeah, okay, these are all gonna take a few minutes. There are 4 certificate of compliance and there's issues on all of them, but,
Then don't issue it. Then don't issue them.
no, just, gray areas, you know. 309 Central, we were down there the other day. Lisa, Richard, and I were down there. This was the one, they put pilings along the driveway and they did a lot of plantings. And there's a lot of plantings on the lawn now, but if you look at the approved plantings, it's a little bit different, so. Anyways, these are the conditions. The end of the conditions. conditions. Here is planting plan.
You were right, weren't you?
It's,
You remembered it right.
well, yeah, it's, a lot of plantings are required. This is the listing of them. I mean, it's, the septic is in, there's a lawn where a lot of these are supposed to go. But there were other areas that were planted that, I mean, it looked like there was a lot of plants along here.
Yes.
So,
Did we get any kind of a letter from an engineer saying it's substantially?
yeah, we did. We got a letter saying it was substantially completed, but the septic was all completed.
But there's supposed to be plantings
That
in
looks like a
path
lot of
between-
plantings supposed to be there.
No, but in the middle, in here, where we were yesterday, and it was just lawn,
Yeah.
there was supposed to be plantings, and that's what he remembered.
Okay, wow.
Why would we call out so many plantings for that?
I don't know, because it really does look
That's
pretty
an
good
odd-
on the
It
whole.
looks nice the way it is, and it
Yeah.
looks
Yeah. Part of it, I think, was mitigation.
busy
She
there.
put all these big pilings driven down here.
Yeah,
And
she
we said,
did.
We usually don't allow that, and so we must
Why'd
have.
she do that?
Then we said, get a planting plan, and Sally Coyle. I mean, she
You know
writes
what,
up
though? That's
pretty-
not all bad, because the marsh comes right up to the
Yes, it
driveway.
does.
And we tell people to put posts and put fences. I
No,
mean,
it
delineates
actually
the
looks
marsh.
nice, it's
It
just,
really did
Yeah.
come out nice.
And
It might be a little less than what we had asked for.
A lot of birds have enjoyed perching on it, too.
oh yeah, definitely colored.
In the as-built, they're saying that it was built that way, but they're not showing any of the plantings. They're just showing the
Right.
septic. And then Sally's plan was, so
What do you think is substantially complete enough to issue that?
Yeah, we talked to, we said, if it's a lot less plantings, we'll ask you to plant some more, and if we're happy with it. I mean, we were out there, it looked,
I think
Okay.
They've done a nice job with it. She really has.
I think it just, it would look like too much.
Okay.
Okay, then
I think we're good.
That one.
Let's put it back on the thing. Let's not mix these up.
all right.
So that's 309?
309 Central.
Yes.
Just
Key West
309 Central. We went to another one right next to that. Oh, River.
River Road, yes.
Don't mix those things up.
These are all on this one.
All right.
Wow.
I know it.
Not at all.
Have you
I wouldn't
noticed,
trust myself.
have you noticed there's checks attached to all these? Because I
Yeah,
don't
aren't
know
those,
where
what
to
do
put them.
you, what do you do with that pen?
They're supposed to go somewhere.
No,
Carol knows.
Did you put the other ones in?
They're still here, they're attached. Yeah, so.
Pat's pulling the wagon a little.
This is good television tonight.
Learned it from past
We
evenings.
knew that guy didn't know anything.
Okay, 138 Stockbridge. This is the one, Steve Bajorklin came in, I think, got it permanent. Bob O'Neill built it, and it's a big, nice house right down from where that other section was. Everything was good except for to get out into the street, you can't back out, so they put a little hammerhead in
Yep,
and to back into. They actually need that.
sure.
And there wasn't a stormwater permit, and the hammerhead is more than 50 feet away, it may even be 100 feet away.
I think we're
But
fine with
everything
that.
else, there's posts put in, the erosion control's in place, the lawn is in,
Good.
Great.
and so it looked good.
Good.
So setback markers, and roof infiltrate as well. So that one was,
Awesome.
that was clean. This is a check here, I have to do something with.
Most of the time, they put them in the bank.
Really?
It's gonna vanish.
Yeah, right. Yeah, all these $20 checks out
grab
there.
them first thing in the morning and I'll
I
sit
already
on.
did the other ones. You were supposed to, did you drop the other ones off?
I did.
Okay,
Got it stamped.
you did some of them.
No, I know, but Dan was telling me.
They didn't want all the coins though.
Those are gonna fund your retirement. You better make sure.
Hey, we're on TV. No wonder. Okay, 155 Hamrock Beach Road is down Cranewood.
Craneswood, it's the end of Craneswood, right next to your girlfriend's pub, next to them.
Right next door.
Okay.
So how do we look?
Okay.
So this one it's like 12 years old, and septic was put in, but there was a letter from a previous agent saying that they hadn't done plantings of beach grass and stuff, but it's all grown in.
Okay.
So,
Mostly beach, and mostly beach grass.
And it's almost all the one area that isn't beach grass is where they have to park the car, and
Yeah.
it's not gonna grow there anyway, so I think Since then, I found the septic approval plan.
Okay.
Good.
Okay,
Don't
so
record
that's-
the check being paid, but I don't know. It might have been because they sent in septic plans.
How much is it for?
Certificate of compliance, $100.
So
I
they
mean,
need
I could
to,
ask Carol.
yeah, see if it, but if not, they need to pay
Right.
for it.
Right. And then the last one is a little bit
58 First Parish?
First Parish.
tricky. Yeah, 158 First Parish. This goes way back before I was here, so I don't know if you guys know. It's right on the railroad tracks near the fire station.
Yes.
And
Oh, the newer one?
Yeah.
the one set further back.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Way back. Oh, yeah, you guys were here. I
We
wasn't
were
here for
here.
this one, so. There was supposed to be a small fence and a swale and a planting plan. And it looks good, but I didn't see a planting plan either. But, it's in the conditions. So here's First Parish, here's the railroad track.
Yeah, no, the
Yeah,
lot sort of swept
Greenbush.
around and back.
Yeah, and so the house is where it's supposed to be, and the walls are there, but there's supposed to be a small fence along here. But Ross Engineering was pointing out that the trees have grown right into there.
Right.
So it's not like you're gonna need that to prevent people from getting into the buffer. Because this is where the fence is, and this is where the...
Yeah. Do you think they should
Yeah.
just put some markers?
Just so they don't cut those trees down.
Markers, okay. Could do that, and then the order calls for planting plan to be submitted, created by a landscape architect to be approved by the commission. All planting areas in the front and rear shall be indigenous to the buffer zone environment. This condition shall survive. He's done landscape plantings in the front of his house here. And the rest is lawn. There's a shed that wasn't on the approved plan, but it's outside the 100.
Okay.
And for some reason, you guys said no roof coverage would be allowed. It was supposed to just spill across the lawn. Okay, so
Okay.
here's the as-built. Here's the edge of the lawn. Here's the shed. I think it's, what's this, 50/100. So the shed's outside.
That's fine.
And over here, you can't really tell the edge of lawn. There's some trees, but this is all lawn here.
I think just get some boundary markers, Pat. and
Okay.
call it a
Along
day.
the,
Yeah,
okay.
4 or 5 markers in that area.
All right. Which one is this? This-
We go with that?
Yep.
Okay, and then there's one that...
That's all that's on the sheet.
all that's on here.
One that didn't make it onto the sheet. Let me just see if we need to do anything. Oh, this is an informal. This is... Came in after the deadline for an RDA, so I actually didn't miss this one, but it's a single-family residence with a detached garage. You're gonna knock the garage down, and it's on Hatherley. It's actually on Marshall, but it backs up to Hatherley. And they're asking if the wetlands are within 100 feet. And they are, and it might be a river. But on the other hand, they're a full street away, and this is like 100 feet away. So I'd say you might need to
And what's the
just take a
proposed
look.
work?
Replace
Knock
the
down
garage?
the garage and build a garage with something on top. But
Okay.
I think someone should take a look at it,
Okay.
and then it'll be on.
Is it in the same footprint?
They haven't submitted the plan for the garage yet, so I don't know.
Yeah.
What's the address?
It is,
That'll be up to building, you know, if they, depending on setbacks and stuff. I mean, if building,
49
if they can build
Marshall.
it bigger,
But
you know,
can't really
building will
see
determine that.
Oh.
the streets, the water or anything.
Yeah,
so you
but
have
we
to go all
don't
the way
really
back
have
out
an
to
issue
Hadley.
if it's in the same footprint.
Or
So,
if it's bigger,
It's-
we don't have.
So you're gonna
There's no
I gotta
regulation
file an
against
RDA.
Making it bigger, right, that's what I'm saying.
They have in for the next time, but it
Okay.
may be that they need more than that if it's riverfront and they're within
Right.
Okay.
hundreds. But then there's a road in between, there's not gonna be any impact, so it's a judgment thing, but I think if people take a look.
Okay.
oh, that's all you ask us, take a
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah.
49
What's the address
49
on that
Marshall.
49 Marshall, but it's...
Oh, Marshall, I know where
It's
you're
right where
talking,
the-
yeah, yeah.
You can't even see
Well,
Appleton from.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Is that it?
Is that it? Beach Committee, Coastal Advisory Committee? I heard there might be a new member on Coastal Advisory, is that true?
Well, I know there's been one applied, but she's got to meet with Board of Selectmen.
Oh, okay.
So-
And they didn't do any of that stuff
Yeah.
last night.
I missed
No, 11th.
the last coastal advisory meeting.
It was a rehash of all the stuff on the north end of Central. Several residents were there. There's still major questions about the easements that will be needed. And I think more questions got answered. But there are still quite a few that are left out there. And that was primarily that, and also Lisa suggested as a member of the audience that that the, what am I trying to say, the dredging be a separate one-time thing that could be done regardless, and so that there really shouldn't need to be an easement for that. That was brought up, it was never fully discussed, and I think it'll be brought up again.
So I think that when, and I had a little bit of a chat, I guess there's gonna be a meeting, Hamrock, in Hamrock, advertised, but bringing more of these easements, trying to get that sorted out so that we can move forward.
I just don't know when yet, so.
Who's that with? With Coastal Advisory?
Well, it would be a meeting held in Hamrock. Coastal Advisory would probably kind of sponsor or co-do that meeting along with Nancy Durfee. I'm trying to explain this project to the residents and the importance of the project. We're trying to some way protect that north end of Hamrock, which is really in jeopardy of some serious damage, where we get the most overwash and maybe even the potential for a breach in the road or something there, so, but...
And there's a yearly meeting in the summer too with the Civic Association.
Yeah, so
Is that gonna be part of it?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the South Humrock, it's not the North Humrock, but HBIA is really pretty inactive, but South Humrock does meet, and that's what we did last year, that's how
Are
we
they gonna
started.
invite everybody to this one then, or is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
And we won't know anything about the beaches till Bill gets back from his deployment.
Oh, Beach Committee, yeah. Beach is open today, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think today was the first day. Jen was doing sampling and, yeah. Oh, good.
Ready to go.
Even with all the rain, huh?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, anybody, I had a chance, Kirk for the job. Nancy was supposed to go out on a river trip with the North and South River and some folks from Department of the Interior, the National Park Service. And Nancy couldn't go, Pat couldn't go, so...
You went. Frank went.
I went. We started at, I'd call it Mary's Boat Yard, and went up past Route 3 and then circled back, and
That's a long ride.
Yeah, lots of questions and interest from Park Service and how things are being protected and all that, but it was a good, got a chance to talk with a bunch of agents from other towns, some Concom members from other towns, and it was helpful.
I ended up with a site visit because of your boat ride.
You could
reporting stuff along the way, you know.
Just making sure everybody's cooperating.
Frank, the other thing we needed to discuss tonight is whether we change days.
Oh, right. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, Paul was saying he's good for the summer with Wednesday, but...
Yeah, I'm good for July and August with him.
All right.
You know, Carol, I think the longer it's on Wednesday, the better for Carol, if she's able to come back in the next few months, because she's...
Wednesday works better than
Wednesday works better for now, but she understands that Monday may be the night. That'll be fine.
Well, see, we used to do it Monday
We did.
Right.
We used to.
Right.
And for a long
Did
time-
anybody look in, is there any
Yes, I looked
issues
into
with this
everything.
room for Monday nights?
No, Jan, I talked to Jan, and we can have the first and third, and she'll do the second and fourth. She says there's no reason they can't work with us. CPC is the second Monday, so that doesn't faze me. So if we stick with first and third, we're pretty much set.
And if you did it in September, the only problem is the first Monday is a holiday. So
That would-
could conceivably make it effective the second Monday of, the third Monday of September.
Yeah.
So I need to go discuss this with Carol, is what you're saying?
No, it's just to get ready for a meeting when you come in on Monday and have to get all that stuff, it's
I
hard.
get you.
But it's worth it, you know?
And the other thing is, you have to get your agendas up even earlier, because
Right.
they would have to be, don't they have to be up Wednesday for
They'd
a
have to
Monday
be up
meeting?
Thursday.
Thursday morning?
Yeah, Thursday afternoon, yeah.
But it's not as though it's something.
No, we did it for
weren't
years.
doing before.
Yeah.
All right,
You tell her.
I'll discuss.
No,
I will, well, see, the thing is too, is that if she retires in a few months after that,
Right.
because I think she's definitely leaving in December.
Well, who knows?
I don't have a problem, whenever.
All right, so
But I did check.
we've dodged the bullet for one more meeting, and we'll continue that discussion.
So that's it, we'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
You want to move to continue
I make
that?
a move to disband the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good.